Rebuilding the Immortal Cultivation family. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 726 Dazzling. After cleaning up the battlefield and erasing his own aura and the remnants of his magic, Li Zhirui turned into a ray of green light and disappeared instantly. What he didn't know was that only half an hour after he left, a spirit ship with the Wangxiang sect logo flew over and then landed steadily above Bailan's body. The aura of junior brother Yuanzhong suddenly disappeared here. A Yuanying holding a compass frowned. The Wangxiang sect would not deduce the secrets of heaven for a Yuanying cultivator, but there were other ways to track down the person who killed him. Take one of Bailan's personal belongings from the sect and use the Li tracking compass to determine the location of the murderer. As for the death of the group of Jinden disciples, the Wangxiang sect didn't take it to heart. After all, Yuanzhong, the Yuanying, was dead, so no magic tools were used to find them. The main reason was that the cultivators of the Wangxiang sect still didn't know what happened in Zuanfazhao. They thought they had bought some precious spiritual objects at the auction, but were ambushed and killed on the way. The reason they were able to track Bailang, but not Li Zhirui, was because the latter had directly put those storage magic weapons into the space, isolating the aura. But the former could only carry them with him. Those magic weapons stained with the aura of Yuanzhong were like a guiding light in front of the Li Zunzan compass, so it was not difficult to find his location. Li Zhirui put several storage magic weapons into the space, not because he had foreseen this in advance, but because there were too many of them, and it was really conspicuous to carry them with him. He first targeted Bailang because he saw that he was injured and didn't want to return empty-handed, so he chased him, but when he got closer, Li Zhirui discovered that he actually had several precious storage magic weapons. Although storage magic weapons can't be said to be very precious, they are definitely not cheap, and the space area is large enough. One is enough for Yuanying cultivators. So Li Zhirui suspected that the other party had robbed several cultivators, which could explain the storage magic weapons and the injury. But when he found a safe place, escaped into space, and checked what spiritual objects were in the magic weapon, his eyes were stung by the dazzling spiritual light. Then, Li Zhirui had an idea in his mind. Maybe this man was robbing the leader of the Wangxiang sect? When he saw the soul-protecting gem, he had a definite answer to this question. Good guy. Li Zhirui couldn't help but smack his lips, but followed by a wave of ecstasy that swept his body and mind, and couldn't help laughing. Ha 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 ha, I didn't expect that I would be able to find a leak. The crazy laughter echoed in the space, waking up the sleeping Xiao Kang. Brother Jiu, what treasure did you get? Otherwise, he would never be so happy, and even a little out of control. Xiao Kang, come on. Help me count these treasures, Li Zhirui shouted loudly. Xiao Kang showed a touch of surprise on his face when he heard this. It seems that Brother Jiu got lucky. And when he flew over from the Dragon Breath Spirit Tea, he could see the pile of bright hills from a distance. Brother Jiu, did you really meet the injured Yuanying from Wangxiang sect? Li Zhirui hid in space for a while. Xiao Kang certainly knew what he was doing. He was also very distressed that he could not help. He decided to practice harder and break through the 4th level as soon as possible. I met an injured Yuanying cultivator, but he solved the one from Wangxiang sect, so I got these treasures. The man and the dragon began to be busy happily. It took an hour to put all the treasures in different categories. Among them, there were 30 million spiritual stones, and all of them were high-grade spiritual stones. Each one contained rich spiritual energy. If it was exchanged for low-grade spiritual stones, it would at least be worth millions more. Then there were various spiritual objects prepared by Wangxiang sect for the auction. The most precious one was the 5th grade soul-protecting gem, followed by some rare 4th grade spiritual objects, including magic weapons, talismans, treasure pills, spiritual medicines, etc. The value of this part was much higher than 30 million spiritual stones. The rest are all kinds of methods, including various skills inheritance, magical secrets, and even a method that can be cultivated to the late stage of transformation. These methods seem to be the most precious, but for Wangxiang sect, they are the cheapest. They can copy as many copies as they want. Anyway, it does not involve the inheritance of the sect, but in general, Wangxiang sect still spent a lot of thought on this auction. Unfortunately, the meat bun hits the dog. There is no return. Now all these treasures belong to Li Zhirui. In addition to these, there are 2 storage magic weapons that have not been opened, and their owners are the 2 Yuanying monks who died one after another. He took them out on purpose to avoid confusion with the spiritual objects of Wangxiang sect. After all, some things cannot be taken out. There are also many spiritual objects in the storage magic weapons of the 2, but after experiencing the baptism before, Li Zhirui and Xiaokang feel that it is just like that. The most precious is a 4th level top-grade spiritual object Muxin Baoquan, which can be integrated into Qianling at that time to improve the grade of the life magic weapon. Soon, they sorted out the spiritual objects, leaving only a large number of jade slips that they had not had time to check the contents of. However, there was no need to rush about this matter. After all, Li Zhirui had been away for a long time, and he should hurry back. See if there's anything you can use, just pick one. Xiaokang heard this and immediately looked at the spiritual objects in front of him with shining eyes, but soon he fell into a dilemma, because he wanted several spiritual objects. Think about it carefully, I'm going out first. After waiting for a long time, Xiaokang did not make a decision. Li Zhirui shook his head, left this sentence, and flashed out of the space. Compared with flying in the air, wood escape is more concealed, and it fits his spiritual roots, and the speed is actually faster than flying. But it is not without disadvantages, such as the distance between the grass and trees cannot be too far, otherwise it will not be able to connect at all, and the consumption of mana is greater. Just as Li Zhirui was rushing to Wangxian Island with all his strength, the Li family was now facing a big crisis. Suddenly, Wangxian's house seemed to have a large number of demon cultivators overnight. To be more precise, a large number of demon cultivators appeared in various places in the east region. Xiaokang, who originally wanted to go to Xuanfazhou to help Li Zhirui, was also tripped by this incident. Fortunately, when Xiaokang came back, he told the tribesmen about the turmoil in Xuanfazhou and her experience, so that they could be prepared to prevent the demon cultivators from fleeing to Wangxianzhou after their failure. Fortunately, at that time, no tribe member took this as a joke, and they were very obedient and prepared to resist. But no one expected that a Yuanying demon cultivator would come. Chapter 727, Killing. The demon cultivators who fled in panic naturally thought that the farther they were, the safer they would be. It would be best if the local forces were not too strong. In this way, they could use the local cultivators to quickly recover from their injuries. Wangxianzhou, which is tens of thousands of miles away from Xuanfazhou, is a good destination. It is far enough away, and most of the local forces are Jinden and foundation building forces. The only Yuanying family, the Li family, is still on an island thousands of miles away. By the time the Li family reacted, they had already run away without a trace. So a group of demon cultivators who fled to Wangxianzhou did not continue to flee, but began to burn, kill and loot, preparing to quickly loot and leave. But the demon cultivators never expected that the Li family had made preparations in advance. Although they were caught off guard and suffered a little loss, they soon launched a counterattack. Occupying the geographical advantage, the formations and people of the Immortal City and the market, the demon cultivators were injured, and the cultivators were not only numerous but also intact. The Li family had an absolute advantage as soon as they made a move. The demon cultivators were defeated and many of them fled. On Wangxian Island, they received the news of the demon cultivator invasion and the battle report at the first time. After knowing that the Li family was fine, Xiaokang planned to set off to Xuanfazhou to help Li Zhirui. As a result, at this time, the urgent news of the Yuanying demon cultivator came suddenly. There was no way Xiaokang could only give up her previous thoughts and deal with this demon cultivator before talking about other things. After all, Zhang Fengwu had to stay in Wangxian Island and preside over the formation, just in case Taking was in seclusion again, and Fengpeng's strength was a little worse. Xiaokang, take Fengpeng with you and let her help you raid the formation. Xiaokang frowned, with a look of disapproval, and said, Sister-in-law Jiayu, leaving only you in the family, if other Yuanying come to the door, it will be troublesome. With the island protection formation, even if 3 or 5 Yuanying come to the door, they can't force it for a while. You and Fengpeng work together to deal with the demon cultivator as soon as possible. Zhang Fengwu still insisted on his opinion. She didn't think anyone would attack the Li family at this time. It was just right for a Fengpeng to fight with the demon cultivators and have a deeper understanding of them, so as to avoid being at a disadvantage in the future. Alright, Xiaoqing didn't object anymore and pulled Fengpeng to fly to the place where the Yuanying demon cultivator appeared. Both of them were wind-attributed spirit beasts, and they were extremely fast. In just a moment, they arrived at the market where the tribe discovered the Yuanying demon cultivator. But they were still a step slower. The entire market was now in ruins, and the broken flesh and blood were very eye-catching in the black and gray ruins. Damn it, Xiaoqing roared in anger. Calm down, Fengpeng comforted her, then closed her eyes and listened to the sound in the wind. She was using her innate magical power to listen to the wind. It is said that this magical power can be cultivated to a high level, and the sound of thousands of miles away can be heard from the wind, but with Fengpeng's current cultivation, it can barely hear about 1,000 miles away. And because it consumes a lot of energy, she rarely uses it on weekdays. Found it? After a few breaths, Fengpeng suddenly opened his eyes and said, "That demon cultivator is attacking a Jinden family 300 miles to the east." After hearing this, Xiaoqing turned into her true body without saying a word, put Fengpeng on her back, flapped her wings violently, and a shadow flashed by, and she appeared dozens of miles away in an instant. If even the vassal forces cannot be protected, how can the face of the Li family be saved? So Xiaoqing took out her fastest speed, and in just a dozen breaths, she appeared next to the demon cultivator. Looking at the shaky and about to be broken family protection formation, Xiaoqing and Fengpeng both breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this time they were not late. It was this family who fought desperately, and the injuries of the Yuanying demon cultivator were not light, but they could not wait for the two of them to arrive. Saved. Two spirit lords have come to the Li family. The cultivators in the formation burst into cheers. The so-called Spirit Lord is the honorific title of the 4th-level spirit beast by the vassal forces of the Li family. Damn it, the demon cultivator had a gloomy and ugly face. He was just one step away. As long as he eats the cultivators of this family, his injuries will be completely healed. At that time, the two flat-haired beasts in the early stage of the 4th order will not be his opponents at all. Even as long as Li Zhirui does not come back, he will not attack Banyan Island. Then he will turn Wang Xianzhao upside down, and no one can do anything to him. Unfortunately, he is still seriously injured and is not the opponent of the two spirit beasts in front of him. In fact, the reason why he attacked Wang Xianzhao was also after some consideration. He knew that Li Zhirui went to Zhuanfazhao to participate in the auction. In order to ensure safety, he would definitely bring the contracted spirit beast. At this time, the Li family only had Jiang Fengwu and a 4th-order spirit beast. In order to ensure the safety of Banyan Island, at most he would send out the 4th-order spirit beast. If that was the case, he had nothing to be afraid of, and he might even be able to kill it. But he never expected that the Li family actually had two 4th-order spirit beasts. This accident put him in great danger. How dare you attack the Li family? Die! Xiaoqing roared angrily, and two green whirlwinds were released from his wings, galloping and whistling. The powerful destructive power made the demon cultivator dare not take it head-on. He dodged in a panic and then turned into a black light and fled in a panic. And this is Xiaoqing's real purpose. The protective formation of this Jinden family is on the verge of collapse. If they fight in the vicinity, the formation will definitely not be able to hold on, and then it will cause huge losses and casualties. So it is necessary to change the battlefield so that Xiaoqing and Fengpeng can go all out to kill the demon cultivator. As for whether it will cause the demon cultivator to escape, do you really think that their racial talents are vegetarian? And they are facing a seriously injured demon cultivator. Two green lights followed closely and soon caught up with the demon cultivator. Go to hell, this time. A huge group of fierce winds appeared out of thin air and rushed towards the demon cultivator from all directions. And Fengpeng also took action to create a wind prison, not giving the demon cultivator a chance to continue to escape. A tiger in a low position is bullied by a dog. You two flat-haired beasts. Aren't you afraid that I will fight to the death and drag you down with me? The demon cultivator, who had barely survived this wave of attacks, became extremely embarrassed, with wounds all over his exposed skin. He stared at the two men with hatred, saying in a hateful voice, "Just you? You are dreaming." Xiaoqing didn't want to waste any more words with him, and immediately called Fengpeng to attack again. When the green light covered the sky, the next moment, green feather blades began to shoot out, densely packed and countless. The defense held up by the demon cultivator only lasted for a moment before it was swallowed by the green light. A shrill scream came from it, And it sounded like he was suffering from incomparable pain and torture, which made people feel terrified. But Xiaoqing did not stop because of this. The green light attacked for a quarter of an hour, and finally dissipated because of the exhaustion of spiritual energy. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 728 Beast. Since they have all come out, Zhaoqing and Fengpeng plan to clean up the demon cultivators in Wangxian's how to prevent them from killing and setting fire everywhere. In the process, Zhaoqing received a telepathic message from Li Zhirui, knowing that he was safe and on his way back to his family. This news made Zhaoqing completely put aside his worries and easily cleared out the demon cultivators who had fled here. 2 flowers bloom, each showing its own beauty. However, Li Zhirui, who was on his way, happened to encounter several low-level demon cultivators who were slaughtering mortals in the city. The joy of getting a large number of spiritual objects before was destroyed by these scum. In particular, he saw a demon cultivator who actually devoured the flesh and blood of his parents bit by bit in front of the child. Such a cruel scene made him feel a little uncomfortable. "You deserve to die," Li Zhirui shouted, and the demon cultivators looked up one after another, their eyes instantly filled with horror. They could never have imagined that a mortal town would actually have a Yuanying passing by. He waved his hand casually, and dozens of green lights shot out. In one encounter, all these beasts were wiped out. "Whoa, Dad! Mom, my son!" All kinds of sad cries and wails were heard, and the gloomy sky made the sad atmosphere even more sentimental. Alice, even though Li Zhirui had seen countless bloody and cruel scenes, he couldn't help but sigh at this time. Mortals have to resist natural disasters and man-made disasters, as well as the demon cultivators who may appear at any time. Small forces have to beware of large forces. Are large forces safe? Not at all. Just look at what happened to Zuanfa Pavilion not long ago. There has never been a truly safe place in this world, but the most miserable ones are still mortals. The luck of the small town is still good. At least it ran into Li Zhirui who passed by, and was not massacred. Only a few hundred people died. And during the period when countless low-level demon cultivators fled for their lives, how many mortals will suffer this catastrophe? No one knows, and no one will investigate, but it can be imagined that it is definitely an extremely large number that is enough to make people stunned. Although Li Zhirui rescued the mortals in this city, he did not have a holy heart. He just cleaned up the remaining things of the demon cultivators, such as corpses, magic tools, and blood, and planned to leave. But at this moment, a child suddenly rushed out, knelt on the ruined ground, and shouted loudly, "Please accept me as a disciple, I want to avenge my parents." He was the child who witnessed his parents being devoured by the demon cultivators. A trace of interest flashed in Li Zhirui's eyes. If it were other children, they would have fainted after seeing that scene, but he didn't. Not only did he not, but he stared at the demon cultivator, as if he wanted to remember the man's appearance and avenge his parents in the future. At that time, Li Zhirui was only angry at the beastly behavior of the demon cultivator. Now thinking back, he realized the extraordinariness of this child. He has a tough mind and is calm enough. His strong mind is definitely the best among all the people he has seen. "I have killed the demon cultivator and helped you get revenge." Li Zhirui did not answer the first half of the sentence. Although this boy's character is touching, Li Zhirui has no intention of accepting a disciple. After all, he is about to retreat and cultivate to perfect his realm, and has no time to teach his disciples. But there are still many demon cultivators. The child's dark eyes were full of hatred. Li Zhirui shook his head and did not say anything about the endless killing of demon cultivators and the great principle of the balance of yin and yang in the way of heaven. He would not understand it even if he said it. On a whim, he tested his spiritual roots and found that he had the worst 5 spiritual roots. Both parents died. The qualifications are extremely poor, but there are talents in certain aspects. How can this be a bit like the template of the protagonist in the novel in the previous life? Li Zhirui muttered in his heart, why not accept him? For a while, his previous thoughts were actually shaken. But then he thought again, being the protagonist's teacher is not a good thing. Maybe one day he will cause him a big trouble. Thinking of this, Li Zhirui's idea of refusing to accept a disciple became extremely firm. It is also good to give the protagonist an opportunity and establish a good relationship with him. So, Li Zhirui gave him a common foundation building technique, several hundred spirit stones, and 2 magic tools, one for attack and one for defense, obtained from a low-level demon cultivator. The child hugged the storage bag tightly, counted out 3 times to Li Zhirui, and said, "I wonder where the immortal lives? When I succeed in my cultivation, I will definitely come to thank you." The Li family in Wangxian's Hao, Li Zhirui gave his name, and finally left after saying a few words. "Live well," the child repeated softly. After Li Zhirui left, he suddenly remembered his actions before he left, and couldn't help but be stunned, muttering, "Why do I look like a tool to lead the protagonist into Taoism? Could it be that the kid is really the son of destiny? The protagonist of the world?" But soon, he put it behind his mind. With his current cultivation speed, he will definitely break through to the spirit before the other party breaks through the golden elixir. By then, even if the child is the protagonist, what does it matter? The gap in strength between the two sides is so huge that he can't help it all. On the way, Li Zhirui met many mortals who were killed by the evil cultivators. Some of them had been slaughtered when he arrived, while others were still intact. There were also mortals who wanted to become his disciples, but he did not stop at all. It took Li Zhirui more than half a month to return to Banyan Island after walking and stopping along the way. And the day before returning home, Xiaokang finally chose the spiritual object he wanted. "Are you sure you want this?" Li Zhirui frowned and confirmed again. The spiritual object Xiaokang chose was the 4th level python fruit. The grade was indeed not low, but it was of little help to his bloodline. But then again, among the spiritual objects harvested this time, only the Muxin Baoquan could improve Xiaokang's bloodline, and the effect would not be very good. "Yes," Xiaokang nodded affirmatively and said, "I plan to cultivate the python fruit and take it in the future." Li Zhirui was stunned when he heard this. After thinking about it, he remembered the effect of this unpopular spiritual object, which can increase the strength of dragon-type spiritual beasts and increase the strength of the physical body. It is said that if the python fruit breaks through the 5th level, it will become a dragon fruit, which can enhance the dragon bloodline, and Xiaokang may not have no plans in this regard. "I have cultivated this thing, so you can choose another spiritual object." Xiaokang shook his head and refused. "No, the python fruit is fine." Seeing that he was determined, Li Zhirui took out the python fruit and gave it to him, and sent him back to the space, letting him toss it himself. After he broke through the nascent soul, the area of the space expanded several times. Until now, some spiritual fields are empty and no spiritual medicines or spiritual herbs are planted. The main reason is that he has too many things to do and is too busy, and high-level spiritual seeds are relatively rare and not so easy to get. However, among the spiritual objects of the Wangxiang sect this time, there are several spiritual seeds that Li Zhirui did not collect, and he planted them in the empty land. Chapter 729 Return. Is the family okay? Nothing happened. Li Zhirui flew all the way from the westernmost part of Wangxian's Hao, but just happened to miss the few towns and immortal cities that suffered the most serious losses, so his attitude was relatively optimistic. After all, he had a huge harvest this time, which not only created a huge income for himself, but also strengthened the family's foundation. How could he be in a bad mood? In reply to the ancestor, this time the demon repair disaster destroyed 2 towns and 1 immortal city, and some small forces were almost wiped out, Li Wenli said with a wry smile. Li Zhirui's expression froze. This result was too different from what he imagined. Originally thought that after letting Xiaoqing return, the family had been prepared. Even if there was a demon repair attack, they could counterattack in time to minimize the losses, but they didn't expect that the losses were still not small. Why is this happening? Li Zhirui frowned and asked. I don't know what happened to those demon cultivators. Thousands of them actually fled to Wangxian's Hao. The Yuanying among them has been killed by the 2 ancestors King Peng and Feng Peng, but there are still more than a dozen Jindan, scattered in such a large area. When the family's help arrived, they had already fled. In the end, only 8 Jindan demon cultivators were killed, Li Wenli said with a look of self-blame. If I had been prepared earlier, the family would not have suffered such a large number of casualties and losses. It's not your fault. After all, no one knew that so many demon cultivators would flee here. Li Zhirui shook his head and comforted him. In fact, if you think about it carefully, this number is not large. You know, Wangxiantao borders a Yuanying demon sect. The fire demon sect alone has more than a few thousand disciples. Have you done the aftermath? Li Wenli nodded and said, it's 20% more generous than the usual compensation. Hearing this, Li Zhirui stopped asking questions and believed that the elders would handle the matter well. He turned to talk about his gains from this trip. I know that the family is cultivating the 5th level spiritual vein, but the high-grade spiritual stones are rare, which leads to slow progress. Now I have obtained 3,000 pieces, which can be transferred to the family at the market price. The preciousness of the high-grade spiritual stone is not only that the spiritual energy contained is more rich and pure, but also because it can absorb the essence of the sun and the moon, the spiritual energy of the heaven and earth, and slowly replenish the consumed part. It is precisely because of this effect that the high-grade spiritual stone is an indispensable and important part in the promotion of the spiritual vein. Although the high-grade spiritual stone is very precious, it is not so important to Li Zhirui, and with the help of the spiritual stone to give birth to spiritual objects, the low-grade spiritual stone is more cost-effective. Since it is not of much use in his own hands, it is better to sell it to the family. Not only can a large number of low-grade spiritual stones be obtained, but the spiritual vein promotion will also have many benefits for Li Zhirui's practice. Li Wenli's face showed joy. He did not ask about the origin of the high-grade spiritual stone, but his heart was in turmoil. He could get such a large fortune and just came back from Zuanfazhao. It must have been obtained from those top forces. This made him feel very uneasy, but then he thought that as the ancestor of the family, Li Zhirui would definitely not harm the Li family, so he simply ignored it. After thinking for a moment, he said, one high-grade spirit stone in the black market can be exchanged for more than 16,000 low-grade spirit stones. The family will give it to you at this price, no need for so much, just exchange for 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. Li Zhirui waved his hand and said, the promotion of the spirit vein will also benefit me in many ways, so I will naturally contribute my part. Seeing that Li Wenli wanted to say something, he interrupted directly, in addition to spirit stones, there are also some spirit seeds and spirit objects, all of which are unmarked, but just in case, don't treat them lightly to outsiders, it's best to deal with them as soon as possible. After saying that, he took out a large number of spiritual objects, and on the top was a storage bag containing 3,000 high-quality spirit stones. As for those finished products such as magic weapons and elixirs, he did not take out any of them. As for those jade slips, he would not let others know before they were selected. Of course, there were also some spiritual objects that were useful to himself, Zhang Fengwu, a pair of children, and their respective spirit beasts, which he did not take out. After all, the reputation and strength of the Wangxiang sect are really too great. If the clan members knew about it, if it was leaked one day, the Li family would face a catastrophe. Even if the nascent soul was not killed by Li Zhirui, would the Wangxiang sect listen? No. In front of the Wangxiang sect, the Li family is just a slightly larger ant, which can be easily crushed to death. No one will listen to the explanation of a bug. The family will calculate the value of the spiritual object and add the contribution value to you. Li Wenli took a deep breath, forced himself to calm down, and with trembling hands, he put the spiritual objects piled up in front of him as tall as a person into his storage magic weapon. In response, Li Zhirui just waved his hand and turned away. He actually didn't know how much contribution value he had left, but it can be imagined that this is definitely an extremely huge number. He didn't work for hundreds of years in vain. It is indeed a bit exaggerated to say that the contribution value of Li Zhirui alone can be compared with all the members of the family, but it is definitely more than 50%. What did you say to the clan leader? You actually stayed in the family hall for so long. After returning to the cave on the top of the mountain, Zhang Fengwu couldn't help but guess, could it be that you really robbed the spiritual objects of a certain force? When she learned about this from Zhaoqing, she was extremely disapproving. After all, the situation was chaotic and very dangerous. If you are not careful, you may get hurt. That's right, Li Zhirui said with a smile, you can guess which force I robbed. It will definitely scare you when I tell you. Could it be Zuanfa Pavilion? Looking at his appearance, Zhang Fengwu knew that he was from a prominent background, so she boldly guessed it. She originally thought that she would get a negative answer from Li Zhirui, but the result was beyond her expectation. No, but it's almost the same. Is it true? Zhang Fengwu looked at him in disbelief. In the entire eastern region, there are only 3 top forces that can be compared with Zuanfa Pavilion. Wangxiang sect, Li Zhirui opened his mouth and spit out a few words, but did not speak out. It was also luck. Just when I thought I had gained nothing on this trip, I happened to meet an injured nascent soul cultivator. I killed him and found out that there was this surprise, and there were also many good things in the storage magic weapon of the injured nascent soul. Will it be known? After the joy, Zhang Fengwu couldn't help but feel a little worried. Don't worry, if they knew, I would not be able to return to the family safely now. Li Zhirui had such worries before, but until now no one from the Wangxiang sect has come, so it should be no big deal. This is the gift that I and Fengpeng prepared for you, see if you like it. As he said that, he took out a few jade boxes and handed them to Zhang Fengwu. Chapter 730 Map. The spiritual objects that Li Zhirui selected for everyone were all in line with their own attributes, and there were no hidden dangers. After all, they were used directly, and the Wangxiang sect would not recognize them in person. Zhang Fengwu was instantly surprised when she saw the 4 4th-grade spiritual objects. Hers could be used to upgrade her life magic weapon, and the other 3 could increase the blood of the 3 spiritual beasts Fengpeng. Although it was not enough to raise their rank to a higher level, it could at least increase their rank by a small level and speed up their cultivation. Seeing her like this, Li Zhirui couldn't help but laugh, and then called Zhao King over and handed him a spiritual object with wind attributes. Brother Jiu, this is the harvest of those demon cultivators that Fengpeng and I killed. Please help deal with it. Zhao King happily put the spiritual objects away and then handed over a storage bag. The reason why they were not handed over directly to the Li family was that those magic tools were infected by demonic energy and were not suitable for cultivators to use. There was no problem with spiritual objects, but most of the spiritual objects collected by demon cultivators were things like flesh, corpses, bones, and ghosts, which the Li family could not digest. It would be a pity to destroy them directly. After all, there are quite a lot of them, and there are also several valuable spiritual objects. Zhao King wanted to sell them and earn some spiritual stones. And he bothered Li Zhirui because of his identity. After all, Zhao King is still a spiritual beast, and it is not very convenient to appear alone in the territory of the cultivators openly. After all, no one knows when a cultivator who kills demons and eliminates evil will suddenly appear. Of course, Wangxianzhao is an exception, because this is the territory of the Li family, and they have the final say. Every immortal city and market has a notice hanging at the entrance, prohibiting any cultivator from taking action against spiritual beasts, even foreign Yuanying, must abide by the rules. Okay, when I go to the Nanya Chamber of Commerce, I will help you sell these spiritual objects. By the way, this is not a difficult task, Li Zhirui agreed immediately. Although the Nanya Chamber of Commerce is a fairy force, which big Chamber of Commerce does not span the 2 paths of immortals and demons? It is normal to acquire demon spiritual objects. After all, whether it is the immortal way or the demon way, they are all human beings. The endless disputes between the 2 ways are just internal conflicts. You can handle it as you see fit. After saying that, Zhao King left in a hurry. He couldn't wait to take the spiritual objects and refine them. Zhang Fengwu did the same. After distributing the spiritual objects to the 3 spiritual beasts, she also went into the quiet room and began to retreat. Li Zhirui saw this and shook his head helplessly. He originally wanted to catch a few strong men to help check the jade slips, but now they are all in retreat, so he can only read them slowly by himself. He roughly flipped through the dozen jade slips that Wangxiang sect brought to the auction and picked out the magical power that he was most interested in. This method is called reclamation and land reclamation. The general principle is to condense the earth spirit energy between heaven and earth and turn it into real soil through some special transformation. With this magical power, if the area of Wangxian Island is not enough in the future, there is no need to use magic power to move the island as before. You know, Wangxian Island can be so big now because it has annexed countless large and small islands within a radius of thousands of miles. If the reefs were not too small and not strong enough, the Li family would really like to incorporate the reefs into Wangxian Island. In other words, if they want to continue to expand the area of Wangxian Island, they can only move the islands from thousands of miles away, which is a very hard job. Only Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu, the Yuanying, can do it without changing people throughout the process, and the area of the island to be moved cannot be too large, otherwise they have to replenish their mana on the way. What's more, the sea area thousands of miles away, the north and south sides are no longer the territory of the Li family. It is very likely to cause conflicts if the islands of other forces are moved without authorization. The other methods are not without value, but except for a piece of alchemy perception, the rest are not in Li Zhirui's eyes. The other dozens of jade slips should be the collection of the two Yuanying monks themselves. Li Zhirui used his spiritual sense to scan them one by one. Most of them were the cultivation perceptions of the two of them, and they were deliberately put aside for a closer look later. The stones from other mountains can be used to polish jade. Li Zhirui is now stuck in a bottleneck, maybe he can gain something from it. The remaining dozen jade slips contain magical powers, incomplete skills, mountain and river travel notes, and even a treasure map. As for the skills they practiced, it is impossible to record them in the book. Li Zhirui glanced at the magical powers and skills casually and put them back. The former did not interest him and he could practice them. The latter seemed to be able to reach the realm of refining emptiness, but the Yuanying and Huishan realms in the middle were missing, so it was completely a waste book. The mountain and river travel notes were somewhat interesting. The two had lived for so many years and could be said to have seen a lot. It was good to use them to increase their knowledge. Li Zhirui did not take the last treasure map seriously at first. After all, 9 out of 10 of these things were fake, and the remaining one was probably a trap. But the more he looked at it, the weirder his face became, because the terrain drawn on the treasure map looked familiar to him, and he always felt that he had seen it somewhere. Where is it? After thinking about it, he still couldn't remember the specific location. Forget it if you can't think of it. Li Zhirui could only give up. He could ask Zhang Fengwu and others after they came out of retreat. He copied all the jade slips, handed the copies to the family, and destroyed the originals. Then he began to comprehend the magical power reclamation of the sea. Although he did not have the earth spirit root, it was not difficult to mobilize the earth spirit energy, but the core of the magical power was a little difficult to comprehend. However, Li Zhirui had already prepared himself mentally. After all, this was a magical power, and it was impossible to learn it so easily. It's time to go home. After experiencing many hardships and becoming more mature, Li Chengshuo looked at the east and murmured to herself. After so many years outside, she finally got the spiritual object that satisfied Xiaoyu's evolution, making it evolve into a 4th grade spiritual beast, and she also successfully broke through the late stage of Jinden. In fact, Li Chengshuo wanted to experience more time in the central region. After all, it was rare to come to this prosperous place. But considering that he had been out for too long, his parents at home were worried, and he had just broken through, it was almost impossible to go further. Staying here would be a quiet practice, or going out to hunt monsters. It would be better to return to the family to be stable and comfortable. I don't know if Brother Sheng has made a breakthrough in the past 10 years, she had mixed feelings about this matter. She hoped that Li Chengsheng could make a breakthrough, so that the family would have another nascent soul cultivator, but she didn't want to fall too far behind him. Soon, Li Chengshuo put away these messy thoughts and strode out of the city. On the way, she met some familiar cultivators. Fellow Taoist Jin, are you going out to hunt monsters again? Yes, we can't just sit back and eat up all the food. After a few casual greetings, they set out on their way home again. Chapter 731 Adventure. Dao Ali, I heard that a 4th level secret realm appeared somewhere in the undying volcano. Do you plan to explore it? One day, Bai Kishan suddenly came to the door and asked with a look of nervousness and excitement. After hearing this, Li Chengsheng pondered for a moment and said, what do the other Daoists say? He has been training in the southern region for so many years. The original 4-person team has expanded to more than a dozen people. Moreover, because of its strong strength and good reputation, many cultivators want to join. However, the team already has enough people. If there are more, various problems will arise, such as insufficient cooperation, large numbers, and easy discovery by monsters, etc. So everyone discussed and decided to keep the status quo. Dao Lin Feng and Yang Liu want to enter the secret realm to find opportunities. Some of the other Daoists have refused, and some are still hesitating, Bai Kishan said immediately. Li Chengsheng certainly knows the reasons why most people refuse and hesitate. After all, this is a 4th level secret realm. Not to mention the nascent soul cultivators and 4th level monsters that enter from the outside world, the dangers in the secret realm are likely to be fatal. Of course, dangers are often accompanied by opportunities. The spiritual creatures bred in the 4th level secret realm are definitely much higher than those in the 3rd level secret realm in terms of quantity and quality. Maybe the opportunity of the nascent soul that he has been pursuing for so many years is among them. Looking at the Taoist friend, you should be planning to enter the secret realm, of course. Bai Qiushan nodded without hesitation and said, the purpose of my going out to practice is to break through the nascent soul. Although the 4th level secret realm is dangerous, it also has more opportunities. He wanted to persuade Li Zhirui, but after thinking about it, he finally did not speak. After all, this matter is indeed too dangerous. If you are not careful, you may die in the secret realm. He cannot interfere with other people's decisions. Then go and take a look, Li Zhirui said calmly. He has been waiting for more than 10 years, but he has never taken the last step. He can't help but feel a little anxious and want to take a risk. Okay, Bai Qiushan was overjoyed when he heard this, and his voice became a little louder. He said, give you 2 days to prepare. We will set out to the secret realm in the morning the day after tomorrow. The time was a bit rushed, but there was no way. After all, no one knew when the secret realm would open. If you go too late, the secret realm might have been closed. After saying that, he left in a hurry, obviously to make preparations. I don't know if this decision is right or wrong. There is no need to regret things that have been decided. Li Zhirui swept away his negative emotions and walked out of the cave to replenish the spiritual objects he needed. Because of this sudden appearance of the 4th level secret realm, the walking Yuanying cultivators in the fairy city are more common than before, and the prices of related spiritual objects have also risen. Fortunately, the impact on the 3rd level spiritual objects is not very large. After all, there are relatively few giant cultivators like Li Zhirui who are so bold as to dare to enter the 4th level secret realm. 2 days passed in a flash. That morning, the 4 gathered at the east gate. Bai Qiushan waited for a while, but didn't see any other team members coming, so he retracted his gaze and shouted, let's go. They boarded the spirit ship and flew quickly towards the place where the secret realm appeared. This is the positioning magic weapon I bought specially. The maximum distance is 3,000 miles. Everyone should carry it with you. The first thing to do when entering the secret realm is to reunite with your companions, Bai Qiushan repeatedly reminded them. Only by keeping warm together can they increase their chances of survival. Understood. I hope we can achieve our wish this time and return safely. This is the best wish for the 4 people. There was no conversation along the way, and they arrived at their destination in just an hour. At this time, dozens of spirit ships were floating in the north of the secret realm, and there was at least 1 Yuanying cultivator on each spirit ship. The movement of Li Zhirui and others was not small, which naturally attracted their attention. Some watched coldly, some did not care, and some showed disdain. But no matter what, fortunately no one made trouble and embarrassed the 4 of them. And at the outermost periphery, there were more than a dozen spirit ships flying in the air, all of which were giant cultivators. It seems that there are still many fellow giant and Taoists who are as bold as us, Bai Qiushan said softly. Li Zhirui glanced at the group of giant. Some of them, like them, came from big forces, but were stuck at giant perfection and could not go any further. Some looked old and decayed, with little life left, and came to fight hard. Some should be casual cultivators, and their thoughts were hard to guess. In the south of the secret realm, there were a large number of monsters, including 3rd and 4th level transformed monsters, and low-level monsters with ignorant intelligence. After all, this secret realm appeared in the undying volcano, which was closer to the monster clan, so there were more of them. Thinking of this, Li Zhirui's heart trembled, and he secretly transmitted a voice, everyone be careful. Don't get involved in the dispute between the big forces and the monster clan here. Logically speaking, the secret realm appeared in the territory of the undying volcano, and it should belong to the monster clan, but the secret realm was too high grade, and the cultivators would probably not give up. In order to compete for the ownership of the secret realm, the 2 sides will definitely clash. As foreign cultivators, there is no need for them to participate in such a dangerous melee, unless those big forces are willing to take out some good things to tempt them. Bai Qiushan and the other 2 heard what he said and immediately understood what he meant and kept it in mind. Let's go there too. As the 4 of them approached the group of giant cultivators, someone came over and whispered, 4 Taoist friends, the secret realm is dangerous. We are a little weak. Why don't we join hands to deal with the dangers in the secret realm? Then how should we distribute spiritual objects if we encounter them? Bai Qiushan did not answer, but asked a question instead. Of course, we will divide them equally. Bai Qiushan nodded as if he agreed, and smiled. This method is fair. But the four of us brothers do not plan to stay in the secret realm for too long. We just want to gain some experience. I am afraid that we will disappoint the kindness of the Taoist friends. I am rude." A trace of dissatisfaction flashed in the man's eyes, but he did not show it at all. He bowed and turned away. The four ignored everyone's gazes, activated the formation on their own, entered the cabin and began to recuperate. Why not agree to them? Just be polite, so that we won't become the target of public criticism after we go in. Yang Liu frowned and said, "That person treated us as prey from the beginning." Li Shengsheng said, "He approached us on purpose just to do something to buy Daoyao and make it easier to track us. How is this possible?" "I didn't find anything wrong." Yang Liu's eyes widened in disbelief. "Yang Daoyao, you rely too much on your spiritual sense, and intentionally or unintentionally ignore your five senses." Bai Qian shook his head and explained, "That person used some special incense powder." Chapter 732, Dragon. The spiritual sense of a cultivator is indeed important and can help people avoid many dangers, but over-reliance on spiritual sense and neglecting the five senses is not a good thing. Just like Yang Liu this time, he did not notice that the other party used colorless and odorless incense powder as a mark. If Li Chengsheng had not keenly noticed that something was wrong, I am afraid they would have been tricked. It's my problem. I will pay more attention in the future. Yang Liu was shocked and thanked him sincerely. "Thank you for your reminder, fellow Taoist." He was born with a stronger spiritual sense than ordinary people. After embarking on the path of cultivation and practicing the secret method of spiritual sense, his talent became stronger. Slowly, he has become accustomed to using spiritual sense instead of other senses. There had been no accidents before, so he naturally didn't think there was any problem. This time, he was lucky that Li Chengsheng and others reminded him, otherwise he would have fallen hard. It is not impossible that he would even be seriously injured and die. "It's good that you're fine," Li Chengsheng smiled, not wanting to dwell on this matter anymore, and said, "Everyone, go and rest quickly, and keep your condition perfect. After all, no one knows when the secret realm will open." Daoyao is right. The four of them each chose a room and began to adjust their breathing and recover. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was a few days later. In the past few days, many cultivators have come one after another. It is estimated that there are at least nearly 100 Yuanying cultivators, and the number of Jiandan cultivators is slightly less, but there are more than 50 people. As for the monsters, both in number and strength, they far exceed the cultivators. Li Chengsheng and the other four stayed in the room for the past few days and never stepped out of the door. Buzz! One day, a low humming sound suddenly sounded between heaven and earth, and all the cultivators reacted instantly and looked towards the secret realm. The shadow of the secret realm glowed brightly, and a moon-white portal gradually took shape. Through the hazy white light, the rich spiritual energy inside the secret realm could be seen. Although no precious spiritual objects were seen, rich spiritual energy is a necessary condition for the growth of high-level spiritual objects, so there must be no shortage of high-level spiritual objects. At the moment when the portal was completely formed, the nascent soul cultivators and the fourth-level monsters set off together, all wanting to enter the secret realm as soon as possible. To this end, various spells flew randomly, just to stop the other party from rushing in first. Wait a little longer, Li Chengsheng and other Jiandan could only stand where they were, not daring to move. The bombardment of spells, let alone resisting, could be hurt by the terrifying energy fluctuations even if they got a little closer. It was not until half a quarter of an hour later that all the nascent souls and fourth-level monsters entered the secret realm, and it was time for them to enter. "Friend Bai, you use all your strength to drive the spirit ship, and we will solve the interference," Li Chengsheng said in a deep voice. If he was not mistaken, the secret realm portal had become a little fainter. They must enter the secret realm as soon as possible, otherwise the portal will be closed. And they will miss it, and it will be in vain for so many days. "Understood," Bai Qian and the other three responded. Shuit, the spirit ship exploded and flew, setting off a storm, and instantly surpassed a large group of cultivators. "Quick! Stop them, we can't let them get ahead," several Jiandan shouted loudly, and their teammates responded, throwing various spells at Li Chengsheng and his four companions. The three who had already prepared spells immediately fought back, neutralizing the attacks while blocking other cultivators. Fortunately, the spirit ship was of good quality, and Li Chengsheng and his companions were also very powerful. They successfully broke out of the crowd and entered the secret realm first. After a dizzy teleportation, Li Shengsheng felt that he had stepped on the ground as soon as he sacrificed his defensive magic weapon. After getting over the dizziness of space travel, he looked around. Am I on an island? About a few miles away, he saw the turquoise water surface. The area of the island was not large, probably only about 10 miles, and the vegetation was sparse, and there was no creature with a strong breath. However, Li Chengsheng looked at the lake with a serious expression. There might be some powerful monsters hiding under the water. He just took a look and felt uneasy. We can't stay here for long. We have to leave as soon as possible, but he was afraid that after he flew into the air, he would attract the attention of the monsters in the lake. That would be a real big trouble. Thinking of this, Li Chengsheng frowned, carefully restrained his own breath, and kept calculating how he could leave safely. But soon, he waited for the opportunity to leave. A passing Yuanying cultivator found a monster in the water, took out a spiritual sword and chopped it down. It was like a meteorite falling from the sky. The lake was set off by waves, and the monster was completely angry. Roar, accompanied by a deafening dragon roar, a huge monster rushed out from the water. It was a 4th-level dragon. I didn't expect that there would be a dragon with such a strong bloodline in the secret realm. The Yuanying cultivator was not surprised but happy, with greedy spirit light flashing in his eyes. Li Chengsheng, who was hiding on the side, was also very surprised, because the dragon power emitted by the dragon was much stronger than other 4th-level dragons. The two sides were not at the same level at all. But after thinking about it, he understood why this was the case. The secret realm rules restricted the dragon's realm, but could not restrict the improvement of blood. However, because there was no way to break through, it caused the strange phenomenon that the cultivation could not keep up with the blood. As long as I take you down, I can not only get those spiritual objects in the lake, but also various spiritual materials on your body, and the dragon blood that is comparable to the 5th grade. The more he said, the more greedy the Yuanying looked. Human cultivator, the dragon was also more surprised than angry, and laughed wantonly. Ha 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 ha, I didn't expect that I could wait until the secret realm was opened in my lifetime. As long as I take you down, I can know the location of the secret realm portal. Before the voice fell, the huge body turned into a residual shadow and rushed towards him, and the lake water below began to boil, changing into various shapes, launching endless attacks. Li Chengsheng, who was hiding in the distance, was watching the battle between Yuanying at such a close distance for the first time. He didn't dare to reveal a trace of his breath, and even stopped breathing temporarily, just for a fear of being discovered by them. As the fight between one man and one dragon became more and more intense, he began to worry whether he would be caught in the crossfire. He originally thought it was his chance to escape, but he didn't expect to be in danger. Fortunately, the Yuanying woke up in time and suffered a little in the battle with the dragon in the lake, so he slowly moved the battlefield to the distance. This move gave Li Chengsheng hope of escape. The dragon naturally noticed the other party's small movements, but it didn't care, because it had unparalleled confidence in its own strength. You know, in the secret realm, you can't break through. You can only constantly polish your body, mana, and refine your blood to improve your strength. And all of this, it has done over and over again in these thousands of years. Chapter 733 Escape. Moreover, dragon-type monsters are inherently strong, so you can imagine how powerful this dragon is. Even if it leaves the lake, it is still terrifying. Li Chengsheng did not rush to escape, but waited until they had moved the battlefield more than 10 miles away. Then he carefully dived into the water and swam in the opposite direction to the east. Flying away from the air is indeed faster, but it exposes himself. Whether it is a dragon or a monk, even a casual attack is not something he can resist. There is no such concern on the waterway. As soon as he entered the lake, Li Chengsheng's body couldn't help but tremble slightly. He didn't expect that the lake would be so cold. Even if he used his magic power to support a layer of protection, the cold air could still invade his body. Fortunately, apart from this problem, there were no other troubles. The lake is full of spiritual energy, but there is only one creature, the dragon. Not to mention monsters, even wild beasts can't see their shadows. At this time, Li Chengsheng had no other thoughts, and he was thinking about leaving this place as soon as possible and escaping, until he accidentally found a mature 3rd-level spiritual medicine on the way. A crazy and bold idea quickly took root in his mind. From the fact that the dragon protected this place so strictly, it is not difficult to see that there are many spiritual objects in the lake. Now that the dragon is gone, a treasure house is in front of him, and the door is wide open for you to pick. Why not give it a try? Li Chengsheng thought in his heart, but his body had already given the answer. He immediately changed direction and went straight to the spiritual medicine. Bodhi heart fruit. It can enhance the understanding of the cultivator. Although it is only a short half a quarter of an hour, it is still extremely rare. He didn't expect that the first spiritual object was so precious, which further aroused his greed. If he could plunder all the spiritual objects in the entire lake, what a huge fortune it would be. But this can only be imagined. For a third-level spiritual object like this growing on the periphery, the dragon may not have time to leave means, but the natural treasures near the dragon cave are definitely strictly guarded. Li Chengsheng was afraid that the dragon would know before he even got close. And he remembered that he was in danger. The dragon could come back at any time. If he was greedy and didn't leave, he didn't know how he would die. So he didn't look back, but searched around here. It's true that he got a lot of spiritual objects, a total of 6, 2 of which were 4th-level spiritual objects. The only regret is that these spiritual objects are all water, yin, and ice attributes. He can't use them, and he has to convert them again. Although there must be more and more precious spiritual objects in the lake, Li Chengsheng suppressed his greed in time and swam quickly towards the east coast. Soon, he returned to the land again, looked back, and even across this lake of hundreds of miles, he could still feel the huge and earth-shattering battle. I don't know when I will be so powerful. With a sigh, he immediately retracted his gaze and ran wildly into the distance. Damn! This dragon is too strong, I'm not even a match. The Yuanying was extremely anxious and didn't want to fight with the dragon anymore. But now, he can't leave just because he wants to. The control of the battlefield is in the hands of the dragon. If it weren't for the fact that he was restrained in the battle in order to capture this person alive, he would have been captured long ago and would not have been able to hold on until now. Now he can only fight and retreat, looking for a chance to escape. Unfortunately, his little thoughts were seen by the dragon, and he came up with a plan. After another fight, the dragon deliberately exposed a flaw, so that the Yuanying thought it was a chance to escape, and he did not hesitate to use his magical powers to escape. Unexpectedly, this was a hole deliberately left by the dragon. When the Yuanying woke up, it was too late. I will fight you. Unfortunately, he did not have the determination to fight to the death. After a lot of effort, he was severely injured and captured by the dragon. The dragon grabbed him and took him back to the dragon cave, tortured him in various ways, and learned about the various situations in the outside world from him. When he heard that the outside world was an immortal volcano, his face suddenly became very ugly. Even though the dragon grew up in a secret realm, the blood feud between the dragon and the phoenix in the inherited memory still deeply affected it. Being troubled, he didn't want to listen to the Yuanying's talk about the outside world. After imprisoning him in the dungeon, he began to patrol his territory as usual. At first, he didn't find any problems until the dragon came to the east side of the lake and saw that the few spiritual medicines that were growing well were now gone. He rushed out of the water in anger, roared to the sky, and said, "That little thief dared to steal your grandfather Long's treasure. If I find you, I will definitely pull out your tendons, peel off your skin, and cut you into pieces." At the same time, Li Chengsheng, who had already left the lake for a long time, shuddered. Bai Qian, who was standing aside, saw this and immediately asked with concern, "Fellow Taoist Li, what's wrong?" "Nothing, it has been 3 or 5 days since he escaped from the lake." At first, Li Chengsheng did not go to find Bai Qian and others, but found a quiet place to heal his wounds. After soaking in the freezing cold lake water for such a long time, a lot of cold air has accumulated in his body. If it is not solved in time, it may cause trouble and hinder future practice. This was one of the reasons why he was unwilling to continue exploring. Not only was he worried that the dragon would suddenly come back, but he was also somewhat unable to withstand the erosion of the cold. Moreover, his condition was not good. What if he found Bai Qian and others, but they had bad intentions towards him? Although they had known each other for many years, Li Chengsheng had always been on guard. Perhaps it was because of Li Zhirui's education that he always had the greatest malicious speculation about outsiders. It was not until he recovered from his injuries that he began to look for Bai Qian and others. Moreover, Li Chengsheng was lucky, and the two of them could just use the positioning magic weapon to see each other's position. After the two met again, they also experienced 1 or 2 battles, but they were lucky. They encountered lone third-level monsters, which were easily killed and harvested several good spiritual objects. Now the two are training while looking for Yang Liu and Lin Feng. Seeing that Li Chengsheng was unwilling to say more, Bai Qiushan did not ask any more questions and said softly, I don't know how the two Daoists are doing now, don't worry, they are quite strong. As long as they don't run into nascent souls and fourth-order monsters, they will probably be fine. Bai Qiushan nodded in agreement and habitually took out a positioning magic tool. Hey! Daoist Li, look! Daoist Lin is just to our north. Li Chengsheng looked over and frowned. He said in a deep voice, I'm afraid Daoist Lin is not in a good situation now. The spiritual light was extremely fast, and it was obvious that it was running for its life. Then let's go and save him, Bai Qiushan said hurriedly. Let's go. Li Chengsheng didn't want them to lose people just after entering the secret realm. Chapter 734 Clues. However, when he was on the road, Li Chengsheng was careful to avoid being misled. About half an hour later, the two of them saw Lin Feng, who was covered in wounds, and the one who had been chasing him was actually a pair of third-level monsters. Cry! The two eagle monsters saw the two people who suddenly appeared and let out a sharp eagle cry, with a warning in their voices. Fellow Daoist Lin, what do you think they did? Li Chengsheng had already guessed in his mind that if nothing unexpected happened, he should have stolen the children of the two eagle monsters. Two young eagles that had just hatched. Lin Feng smiled bitterly and said, at that time, a giant python appeared and led them away. I took the opportunity to capture the young eagles, but I didn't expect these two beasts to chase me relentlessly. Fortunately, the two fellow Daoists arrived in time, otherwise I would have died under their claws. Speaking of which, he was also lucky. He fled thousands of miles in the air with great fanfare, and did not attract the attention of other monsters and cultivators. Li Chengsheng looked at him meaningfully. He always felt that Lin Feng was not telling the truth, or deliberately concealed some key information. But now was not the time to ask. It was better to deal with these two eagle monsters as soon as possible. But unexpectedly, the eagle monster looked at Lin Feng deeply, as if to engrave his appearance in his heart, and immediately turned around and flew away. Li Chengsheng did not make a move to stop him. Since Lin Feng was unwilling to tell the truth, why should he bother? Bai Qiushan probably thought the same way. Fellow Daoist Lin, is your injury okay? Lin Feng felt a little uneasy, and a hint of hesitation appeared in his eyes. He seemed to want to tell the truth, but when the words came to his lips, he changed his mind and said, it's okay, just some skin injuries, and it will be fine after a day or two of rest. Then let's find a safe place first, and wait for a fellow Daoist Lin to recover, and then set out to find fellow Daoist Yang Liu. What do you think? Li Chengsheng nodded first and replied, okay, it's a good time to rest and recover. Lin Feng couldn't refuse it even more. Once it was delayed, his minor injuries would become serious injuries, and in the extremely dangerous secret realm, a little injury might become his fatal factor. And the relationship between the three people had already appeared a crack invisibly. In this regard, Li Chengsheng was mentally prepared. In the face of huge interests, even relatives and friends might break up, let alone teammates like them who had only known each other for a few years. A few days passed in a flash. After Lin Feng recovered from his injuries, the three began their journey to find Yang Liu while exploring the secret realm. Since the secret realm is rich in spiritual energy and full of vitality, low-level spiritual objects are very common, but except for some rare and uncommon spiritual objects, the three did not waste too much time on them. They also got a lot of third-level spiritual objects, but they got nothing of the fourth-level spiritual objects, because they were guarded by fourth-level monsters, which they could not fight. And with Li Chengsheng's caution, the three of them avoided many dangers in advance, but sometimes, danger cannot be avoided. It has been more than half a month since the last time they saw the two eagle monsters. They went to many places, but they couldn't find any trace of Yang Liu, so they once suspected that he had fallen in a corner of the secret realm. One day, the three were dealing with a third-level monster and taking the red jade flower, and suddenly a huge monster appeared on their heads. It was a fourth-level eagle monster. And next to it were the two third-level eagle monsters. Ancestor, that person took my child away. My Yunshan Goshawk clan finally gave birth to Golden Rock with ancestral blood, but you, a little thief, took the opportunity to steal it. Unforgivable. Li Chengsheng and Bai Qiushan heard this and looked at Lin Feng in shock and anger. He actually concealed such important news. Innate blood returning to the ancestral blood. In the human race, that is a spiritual root plus a spiritual body, an absolute child of heaven. Such an existence was stolen by Lin Feng. No wonder the 4th level monster was dispatched. In addition, there is another very important reason. That is, their existence is a guide to leave the secret realm. This big monster not only wants to save the descendants, but also wants to catch Li Chengsheng and others, so that they can leave the secret realm. Damn it, Li Chengsheng cursed in a low voice and activated the escaping talisman without hesitation. At this critical moment, there is no time, and I don't want to say hello to the other two, especially Lin Feng. If he had known that the young eagle in his hand was a golden rock, Li Chengsheng would have found a way to separate from them long ago, and he would not have become so embarrassed, and he even used a precious earth escape talisman. Fortunately, the big demon's attention was mostly focused on Lin Feng, and he didn't care much about Li Chengsheng's escape, otherwise he might have to lose the soul-distracting jade slip again. Hundreds of miles away, a figure suddenly emerged from the ground. It was Li Chengsheng who escaped. And the first thing he did was to turn off the positioning magic weapon, so as not to be implicated by Lin Feng again. As for the life and death of the two of them, he didn't care so much now, and even thought about exploring the secret realm alone. Be careful, it shouldn't be a problem, right? With a thought, Li Chengsheng really thought about it seriously. Instead of being dragged down by others, it's better to be alone, at least there won't be any enemies suddenly looking for him. How about? Give it a try. Anyway, he still has the soul-distracting jade slip and the earth escape talisman in his hand. Even if he encounters danger, it shouldn't be a problem to escape. If it doesn't work, go find Bai Kexin to reunite. After making up his mind, Li Chengsheng put away the positioning magic weapon and carefully explored the surrounding situation. Come and take a look at this treasure map. Do you think it looks familiar? Li Zhirui had been in seclusion for a while to hone his magic power. When he came out, Zhang Fengwu, Daking and Zhao Qing were all there, so he called them all over to see if they knew it. No impression. Zhang Fengwu shook her head first. After all, she had not practiced in many places, and had never practiced with Li Zhirui. She might not have seen the places he had seen. Zhao Qing also shook her head repeatedly. I don't have any impression at all, I seem to have seen it somewhere. When Li Zhirui was disappointed, Daking gave a different answer. But my memory is very vague. As if it happened many years ago, Li Zhirui was refreshed and began to search for his previous memories. At first, he did disdain this kind of treasure map, but after he felt that this treasure map looked familiar, he vaguely felt that it should be a real treasure place, so he spent some time studying it and also found Daking and others. There are some clues now, but unfortunately, Li Zhirui still can't remember where he is. He has seen the same terrain as on the treasure map. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 735 Accident. Feng Wu and Zhao Qing both said they had no impression, but Da Qing had an impression, Li Zhirui muttered to himself. This means that it should be a place he had been to before contracting Zhao Qing. After all, high-level cultivators have excellent memories and powerful souls, and it is impossible for them to be negligent or miss anything. Even if he forgot it for a while, it was because his memory was too huge and complicated, and he didn't remember it in a short time. Before contracting Zhao Qing, it means that Li Zhirui was just a small cultivator of key training at that time, and the places he had been to were very limited. Locking the scope in this vicinity, an answer suddenly emerged in his mind, and he said in surprise, Bailang County. Yes, it is the upper source of Bailang River. The Li family was just a foundation-building family, a vassal family of the beast-taming sect, and Li Zhirui lived in Bailang County for more than 10 years. He also followed his elders to go there. Later, in order to survive and continue, the whole family moved to Banyan Island, which was still Banyan Island. But it has been hundreds of years since the Li family moved here, and he is the only one left from that batch of clansmen, so he didn't remember it for a while. As for Li Zhixun, another person of the Zhi generation, she was born after coming to Banyan Island and has never lived in Bailang County. Of course, over thousands of years, mountains and rivers will also change. Li Zhirui doesn't know how many years ago this treasure map was handed down, but the signs and terrain on it are all consistent with his impression of Bailang River. The location of the treasure chest is at the source. Hearing what you said, Brother Jiu, I also remembered it. It is exactly the same as Bailang River. At that time, Daking had weak intelligence and could not remember the relevant memories at all if he did not search deliberately. Then are you going to find this treasure? Zhang Fengwu frowned and said, I remember that Bailang County is 20,000 miles away. Although this distance is not too far, it is also the territory of a Yuanying sect. If nothing is found, wouldn't it be a waste of time? She has been married to the Li family for so many years, so she naturally knows the relevant news. I believe in my spiritual perception. This treasure map should be true. Hearing this, Zhang Fengwu knew that Li Zhirui had made up his mind. It was impossible to persuade him, so he could only let him go. But think about his current strength. Unless he encounters an ambush by a god-transforming ancestor or several nascent souls, there is no need to worry about his safety under normal circumstances. Then you should be careful. Don't worry, I'll be back soon, just going to find a treasure. Li Zhirui didn't think there was any danger, and planned to take Zhaoqing with him and set off directly. But unexpectedly, Daking took the initiative to say, Brother Jiu, I also want to go with you. Then let's go. He didn't think much about it, let alone refuse, and readily agreed. Xiaokang was released from the space. He is now at a critical period, and he doesn't know when he will face the thunder tribulation. Putting him in the space, in case Li Zhirui is training outside, it is not convenient to release him to overcome the tribulation. It is still a bit dangerous to overcome the tribulation in the wild. Even if the three of them help to protect the law. There may be omissions, not to mention that there will be problems such as insufficient spiritual energy in the outside world. After Xiaokang breaks through the 4th level, it can be regarded as catching up with Daking and Zhaoqing. It is not to say that they are on the same starting line, but at least the gap is not that big. Speaking of which, Li Zhirui took Daking and Zhaoqing and quietly left Banyan Island and headed straight for Bailang County. Although hundreds of years had passed, for some reason, he could still remember the route clearly. 20,000 miles was very far for the Li family, who were still building their foundation. They were terrified along the way, fearing that they would encounter any enemies. Fortunately, they were safe all the way, and he also found Yunai on the way, opening up a source of income for the family. But for Li Zhirui now, these 2,000 miles are nothing, let alone any danger. 9 brothers, when the family became stronger, why didn't you go back to take a look? After all, that is the ancestral land of the family, Zhaoqing asked curiously. Li Zhirui's eyes showed a few traces of confusion, and he didn't know why. Maybe it was because of the distance? Or maybe it was because of time? At the beginning, the family didn't care about the secular clansmen who stayed in Bailang County, and later, as the old people passed away one by one, no one mentioned it anymore. Now that so many years have passed, it is unknown how many secular clansmen there are, and it is even more impossible to determine whether they have the blood of the Li family. He shook his head, cleared his mind, and said, things have changed a lot, even the mountains and rivers have changed. There is no need to do these boring things. The rest of the journey became quiet until they set foot on the land of Bailang County. Is the spiritual energy so thin? Li Zhirui's impression was a little vague. The Li family did not have a good time at the beginning, and they suffered from the oppression of the beast-taming sect. We are here to look for treasures, and other things have nothing to do with us. However, when they came to the location of the Bailang River in their memory, they found that the river had disappeared. This, Li Zhirui frowned. He had thought about the diversion of the river, but he had never considered the direct disappearance of the river. Because in his impression, the Bailang River is a big river, and it is close to the infinite sea, with abundant rain, and it is impossible for it to be cut off or disappear. It seems that we have to find a market to inquire about the news. Originally, if you go upstream along the river, you can always find the source, but now the river is gone, and there is flat land all around. Li Zhirui can't find the location of the river at all. Not long after, they found a dilapidated market. After entering, the three of them couldn't help but frown. The area was very small, probably less than 1 mile. There was only one north-south street in the market. The shops on both sides were a bit dilapidated. There were quite a few cultivators walking on the road, but they were all key training cultivators. This strength is too poor, Zhaoqing muttered. Is the strength poor? Li Zhirui repeated it in his mind. It was very poor, but how big was the difference between the Li family and these people? If it weren't for good luck, the Li family would have grown up. And they would still be struggling to survive like them. Let's go, find a tavern to ask for news. He just found out that except for a few shops selling elixirs and magic tools, the rest of the market were all taverns and brothels, and they all seemed to be doing good business. As soon as Li Zhirui and the other two entered the tavern, the originally noisy hall became quiet in an instant. Although they had restrained their breath, even if they were just foundation-building cultivators, they put great pressure on these key training cultivators. "Hey, bring some good wine," Xiaoqing called out loudly as if she didn't feel anything. The monks near the table where the three of them sat down fled as fast as they could as if they were avoiding the plague. Chapter 736 Zombies. In this land where the majority of the people are key training cultivators, foundation-building cultivators are rare, and golden elixir cultivators are only legends, it is no wonder that they would react like this. After all, if he accidentally offends them, he can kill them just because he doesn't like them. Seeing this, Xiaoqing's face darkened. He never thought that one day he would be avoided by others. If Li Zhirui hadn't signaled him not to mess around, Xiaoqing would have wanted to catch them in front of him and ask them why they were so scared. Originally, Li Zhirui thought that the strength of the foundation-building cultivators was low enough and should not make these young cultivators panic, but he didn't expect that it was still a mistake. Even the guy who delivered the spirit wine was trembling when he walked and didn't dare to look up. Wait, seeing him put down the spirit wine and pretend to run away, Li Zhirui called him and asked, "I heard that there is a big river rich in clam pearls here. Why can't I find it?" Strictly speaking, this clam pearl is not a spiritual object, but it is just contaminated with some spiritual energy. But because of this, it is very popular among low-level female cultivators. After all, it is cheap and has a good effect on whitening and nourishing the skin. Therefore, it is somewhat famous among the casual cultivators nearby. Senior, you don't know that about 100 years ago, the Baiyu sect discovered a spiritual stone vein in the Bailang River. In order to better develop the vein, the river was cut off from the upper reaches. After digging for spiritual stones for decades, it was discovered that the river channels on both sides of the mine had been filled up, and slowly the entire river channel disappeared, the guy hurriedly explained, fearing that he would speak too slowly and cause dissatisfaction from this foundation-building senior. Li Zhirui frowned when he heard this. Was it because of this reason? Then do you still remember the location of the river? Although it was a bit strange for him to ask about the clam pearls before, at least there was a reason. But now the river is gone, and the clams are naturally extinct. He made a gesture of asking questions, which immediately aroused the curiosity and speculation of many monks. Could it be that there are other treasures in the Bailang River? This is what most people think, but they dare not talk about it in front of Li Zhirui. Yes, I have a map from 100 years ago. If you need it, I will go and get it for you. The shopkeeper came hurriedly and said respectfully. At this time, the shopkeeper was nervous and excited. Who would have thought that a tattered map that no one wanted would actually get the friendship of a foundation-building monk? However, when Li Zhirui got the map, the shopkeeper was disappointed. He wanted to gain his friendship with a map? It was too simple. So he gave the shopkeeper a few hundred spirit stones and left the tavern directly. Brother Jiu, I haven't finished the spirit wine yet. Xiaoqing couldn't help complaining as soon as she went out. You can actually drink that kind of low-level spirit wine with gusto, Li Zhirui said casually, and then changed the subject, saying, our appearance is still a bit eye-catching, so we should rush to the source as soon as possible and find the treasure. After that, the three of them left in a hurry. After they left, the tavern became more lively than before, and everyone was discussing the purpose of Li Zhirui and the other two. They must be going to find treasure, otherwise how could they suddenly ask about the river course of Bailang River, even if they are looking for treasure? So what? That's a foundation-building cultivator. We are looking for death if we run over there. With so many of us, maybe we can snatch one or two treasures from the foundation-building cultivator, then we will be rich, huh? Don't die outside then. Although it was very dangerous, the treasure attracted them, and in the end many cultivators still ventured out and went to the river course of Bailang River to take a gamble. This is it. Zhaoqing looked around and found that there was little difference from the treasure map. It could even be said that except for the lack of a river channel, there was no difference at all. The source was still a deep pool. I don't see anything special about it. He really couldn't understand why the spiritual object was hidden in such a place. The three of them groped in the deep pool and soon found their destination. A cave at the bottom of the deep pool, covered tightly by silt. The three of them spent a lot of effort to restore its true appearance. No wonder no one has been discovered after so many years. The silt actually has the effect of deceiving the divine consciousness. It is also a treasure, so it was collected casually. Li Zhirui looked at the dark cave in front of him, which could barely accommodate one person, and his expression became very alert. In such a narrow place, if there was an emergency, he would not be able to fight at all. But the treasure was inside, and he was unwilling to turn back now. Brother Jiu, how about we go in and take a look first? Duckwing said. I have strong defense, so I'll take the lead. It's okay, I'll take the lead. If you encounter danger, you can hide in the space as soon as possible. Li Zhirui rejected Duckwing's proposal and immediately walked towards the cave. The tunnel became wider and wider, and in the end it even opened up a large space. There was no danger inside, and no treasures were seen. There was only a huge coffin placed in the center, surrounded by dense, mysterious array patterns. Isn't there a high-level zombie in that coffin? Xiaoqing guessed. After all, the surrounding environment is indeed hard not to associate with zombies. Be careful, Li Zhirui reminded the two, and then he urged the vines to open the coffin. Since he was here, he also wanted to see what monsters were in it. Ha 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 ha, I'm finally resurrected. A zombie with a green face and fangs jumped out, but from his extremely high intelligence, he didn't think it was a zombie. You know, it is very difficult for zombies to have intelligence. Breaking through the 3rd level is only a weak intelligence. Only when breaking through the 5th level, the intelligence can be the same as that of ordinary people. Boy, tell me what year it is now, the zombie ordered without any courtesy, not taking Li Zhirui seriously at all. Humph, Li Zhirui said coldly, a zombie of only the 4th level actually dares to yell at me, really doesn't know how to live or die? With Decking and Zhaoqing by his side, he has unparalleled confidence in his own strength. Okay, then let me see how I don't know how to live or die. The zombie seemed to have heard a big joke. And there was obvious sarcasm and mockery on his stiff face. Bang! Suddenly, a vine rose from the ground, and when it was swung, it created a terrifying force and smashed towards the zombie. But the other party did not move at all, and even the vine had broken due to the reaction force. Ho ha ho ha, with this little force, are you tickling me? Chapter 737 Surprise. Li Zhirui did not respond, but the next moment, countless thick vines rose from the ground, filling the empty cave, and turned into several giant pythons shooting at the zombie's limbs and head. It seemed to sense a hint of danger, and with a flick of its body, it left its original position, and the contempt in its size also dissipated a lot. But before it could breathe a sigh of relief, hundreds of vine whips entangled together with hundreds of vines broke through the air from the side, and with a bang, it was directly knocked away and smashed into the vines, like thousands of snakes surging, constantly moving to engulf it, and various attacks continued. Roar. With an angry roar, the embarrassed zombie broke free from the vines. I want you to die. Li Zhirui took a step back, and Decking took advantage of the situation and threw out a dark green tortoise shell to shelter the three people. No matter how the zombies attacked, the defense was still as solid as a rock and could not be shaken. Decking's skills are all in defense. With his own racial talent, he can resist for a long time even when facing an enemy with a perfect nascent soul. What's more, this zombie in front of him is only in the late 4th stage. With Decking defending in front, Li Zhirui can attack with all his strength without any defense, without distraction. For a while, the zombie's situation became very dangerous. The space is small, and some methods are indeed difficult to use, but it is also easier to build a battlefield suitable for oneself. Just like now, he has used fewer spiritual seeds than before, but the power is even stronger. Zhaoqing on the side is also not idle. Various popular spells that cut off everything continue to appear from his hands. Even though the zombie's body is very strong, it still has many wounds cut out, emitting a strong stench. Because it has just been resurrected, its strength has not been fully restored. Facing the fatal blows of 3 nascent souls at the same time, its achievements are no match for them. As time goes on, it is in a life and death crisis. Impossible. I changed my fate against the will of heaven and went through untold hardships to transform myself into an immortal body. I should be on the road to ascension. How could I die here? The zombie sensed that his vitality was gradually dissipating, and suddenly became very crazy. His eyes were red, and his original rationality was drowned by chaos. In the end, he turned back into an ordinary 4th-level zombie. Although he also had spiritual intelligence, he was not like an ordinary person like before. Is this the backlash of the secret method? Li Zhirui saw this and couldn't help guessing. From what he said before, it is not difficult to guess that this zombie was transformed by a certain nascent soul cultivator through secret methods, seemingly to seek the way to immortality. If you want to know the truth, it is also very simple. Just get rid of the zombie in front of you. It has 2 storage rings on its right hand, which should record relevant information. Facing the zombie whose spiritual intelligence has not yet been fully developed, Li Zhirui and the other 2 worked together and quickly killed it completely, cut off its head, and finally burned it to ashes with spiritual fire. I don't know if there is anything in the coffin. Just as Li Zhirui was about to check the storage ring, Zhao King curiously stepped forward to check the huge coffin. But he saw that there was a smaller jade coffin in the wooden coffin. Even without touching it, he could feel the cold breath, a 4th-level spiritual object. Although Zhao King didn't like reading books, he could still roughly judge the level of the spiritual object by observing the spiritual light emitted by the jade coffin with his spiritual sense. Zhao King's voice attracted the attention of Li Zhirui and King. They walked forward and carefully identified it, and said, "This is the yin gathering and soul nourishing jade. Unfortunately, it is obviously a 5th-level natural treasure, but because of the unknown secret method, the spiritual light has dissipated a lot. The yin gathering and soul nourishing jade is the treasure that all ghosts dream of. Owning a small piece can be of great benefit to the ghost's practice, not to mention such a large piece of precious jade." The wooden coffin outside is also a 4th-level spiritual object, called condensing evil wood, but it is more seriously damaged and has fallen to the 2nd level. Li Zhirui sighed and said, "No wonder there are not many spiritual objects and spiritual stones in the 2 storage rings. They should have all been spent on these 2 things." He didn't check it carefully just now, but just glanced at it, but he had already roughly remembered it. In the huge space, there were only a dozen sealed jade boxes, and in addition, there were hundreds of jade slips. "Ah! Then we didn't get much from this trip," Zhao King shouted with disappointment. "The harvest is still not small. Those hundreds of jade slips are a precious treasure." Li Zhirui was very curious about the identity of the zombie before his death. He didn't know who he was. He actually collected so many jade slips and the huge piece of yin gathering and soul nourishing jade. Hearing this, Zhao King couldn't help but curl his lips. What he was most impatient about were those jade slips. "Let's go. Now that we're done, it's time to go back to Banyan Island." Before leaving, Li Zhirui used the image stone to record the array pattern on the ground, thinking that he could let Zhang Fengwu study it and then completely erase it. "Brother Jiayu, are you really not going to look for the secular people who are stranded here?" Zhao King suddenly asked when flying over Bailang County. Li Zhirui shook his head and said, "No need. Hundreds of years have passed. How much blood relationship can there be between the 2 clans? More importantly, how can he tell whether they are from the Li family? He has not learned any magical spells such as blood tracing." Seeing this, Zhao King no longer mentioned the matter. Although he was a little curious about the current situation of those Li family members, since brother Jiayu was unwilling to see it, he could only give up. The next day, the group returned to the family. Back so soon, Zhang Fengwu was a little surprised when he knew they were back, because it was only 3 days before and after. "Did we not find the treasure place, or is the treasure map fake?" Li Zhirui smiled and said, "Could it be that we have already obtained the treasure?" "What treasures are there?" Zhang Fengwu suddenly became excited. Zhao King curled her lips and said, "They are all worthless low-level spiritual objects, and the rest are all jade slips." On the way back, they opened a dozen jade slips, which were all 2nd and 3rd-level spiritual objects. Li Zhirui ignored him and said, "There are still hundreds of jade slips. There is no time to check them. We will be busy next." Huff, huh. Li Chengsheng hid in a hidden corner. He tried his best to calm his breathing, but his heart was beating wildly, and it was not so easy to return to normal. "I didn't expect that I would have such an opportunity." Thinking of the spiritual object in his hand, Li Chengsheng couldn't calm down at all. He was very lucky to get a big fantasy dream fruit. After taking it, you can build a dream fantasy by yourself. Although it is just an illusion, everything you feel is real. In this way, Li Chengsheng constructed an illusion of himself transforming from a pill into an infant, and gained insights into breaking through the nascent soul from it. Chapter 738, Out of the Abyss. However, Li Chengsheng also paid a lot for this. Not only was he seriously injured, but the injuries of the 2 spirit beasts were also not light. If he encountered monks and monsters again at this time, he would be in danger. "Wait until we find a safe place to hide," because Li Chengsheng knew that the group of giant monks would never give up easily. This is a treasure that can help him solve decades of troubles, or even a lifetime. But he was not familiar with the secret realm. After he and Baikishan separated, he began to practice alone, but because the secret realm was too dangerous, he didn't dare to walk around casually, and didn't go to many places. And he always believed that there were many people among the monks who could find him. Maybe someone was groping in the back now, so this place was not safe. The secret realm will not be closed for more than a month. If it was in the outside world, the world was vast, and Li Chengsheng found a place to hide. The difficulty of tracking would be greatly increased, but this was a secret realm. Although the area was vast, it was limited after all, not to mention that many places were dangerous places, and he didn't dare to approach them at all. Even though he wiped out his own breath when escaping, and even used his blood essence to perform the secret method of concealing the secret, he still didn't dare to rest assured. Li Chengsheng thought about it and felt that the safest place was the big lake where the dragon lived when he first entered the secret realm. When he escaped from the big lake, he found that not only was there no living creature in the big lake, but there were also few living creatures on the shore. If a large number of cultivators approached the big lake, it would definitely attract the attention of the dragon. At that time, I don't know how many cultivators would die in the mouth of the dragon. However, there is a risk in doing so. If Li Chengsheng is discovered by the dragon, he will never have a good end. Why not hide near the entrance of the secret realm? Because there will definitely be many giant and cultivators going to explore and search for this place. Even if he has a few invisibility talismans in his hand, he can't withstand their repeated searches. It is better to take the risk of hiding near the dragon lake and hide himself with the talismans in his hand. And things like squatting at the door are no different from seeking death. You know, in addition to the monks, there are more monsters in the secret realm. If you are not careful, you will become a feast for the monsters. After making up his mind, Li Chengsheng immediately took action, dragging his injured body and running across the land. Not long after he left, a group of monks actually caught up with him nearby. The man's aura is quite strong here. He should have stayed for a while, or he's hiding somewhere. After all, his injuries are quite serious and he can't escape too far. Unfortunately, what they didn't know was that Li Chengsheng had the top-grade elixir carefully refined by Li Zhirui. I dare not say that he can be fully recovered after taking one elixir, but the healing effect is indeed excellent, and it can also suppress injuries and prevent injuries from getting worse. Then let's look for him nearby. Unfortunately, they searched the area and didn't find Li Chengsheng. He's quite fast, another group of monks asked. Brother, should we continue to chase him? While they were looking for Li Chengsheng, several more waves of monks came, and in the face of the same purpose, this group of unfamiliar monks temporarily cooperated for a while. Forget it, that guy is more skilled, let's not waste time on him. The great fantasy dream fruit is indeed precious, but if you can't get it, what's the use of it? It's better to make good use of the last month or so to find a few more spiritual objects in the secret realm. In the end, only the original group of monks are left. Brother Su, do we still want to continue? Obviously, some of them are unwilling to waste time. They have been chasing Li Chengsheng for several days. Each time they are just one step slower, and their hopes are dissipated in the blows, leaving only fatigue and boredom. And even if they really find him, catch him, and seize the great fantasy dream fruit, who should they give this only one spiritual fruit to? No matter who they give it to, there will be people who have opinions. For the last time, if you don't catch him again, then give up. What do you think, fellow disciples? Although some people are still unwilling, no one stands up to object because of Brother Su's background and strength. But it was this last time that led to a very tragic ending. The group used the secret method to find the forest where Li Chengsheng was hiding, but they could not find his location accurately. They could only use the stupid method of using their spiritual sense to explore inch by inch. They used their spiritual sense to explore the lake several times, and accidentally found that someone found a third-level spiritual object growing in the lake. At this moment, everyone instantly forgot the task of finding Li Chengsheng, and they all thought about going into the water to harvest the spiritual object. But when the first cultivator entered the water, he startled the dragon sleeping in the lake. Roar! The dragon flew in the air, looking down at them from a high place, and said, "A group of ants who don't know how to live or die, dare to covet my spiritual objects and destroy my territory. They deserve to be killed." As for the cultivator in the lake, he has now become a corpse. In front of this dragon, the giant in cultivator is just a larger ant. and has no power to fight back. If there is no life-saving spiritual object such as the distraction jade slip, he can't even struggle. Hiding deep underground in a cave he dug himself, Li Chengshen, after sensing the trembling of the earth, immediately activated the invisibility talisman and the breath-retaining talisman, and hid carefully. It was not until more than an hour later that the talisman's mana was exhausted and turned into a useless talisman, and he did not dare to make any big moves. After waiting for another hour or two, Li Chengshen began to heal his wounds, but he did not dare to absorb the spiritual energy between heaven and earth, for fear of causing fluctuations and being discovered by the dragon, so he could only use spiritual stones and elixirs. Several teams of giant and monks came later, but without exception, after discovering the spiritual objects in the spiritual lake, they planned to go into the water, and then alarm the dragon and kill them. Every time, Li Chengshen was terrified, afraid that he would be discovered. Gradually, more than a month passed. On this day, a spiritual light flashed in the sea of consciousness of all the creatures who entered the secret realm, telling them that the portal had been opened, which also meant that the secret realm was about to close. The secret realm will be closed in a few days. I have to find a way to avoid the dragon and leave this place. Li Chengshen frowned. How to leave became another problem. But soon, this problem was solved by himself. Ha. I can finally leave the secret realm, break free from the shackles, and emerge from the abyss. The wild laughter spread over a radius of more than 10 miles. Even Li Chengshen, who was deep underground, could hear it clearly. Is there anyone who wants to leave the secret realm with me? The dragon wanted to create a force to support itself, so it naturally couldn't cultivate it from scratch. That would be too time-consuming and energy-consuming. There were many suitable monsters in the secret realm. Chapter 739 Conjecture. Boom boom, Jialong's words were like a fuse that instantly ignited the surroundings. A large number of third-level monsters rushed over, and hundreds of monsters ran, and the earth trembled. Although these secret realm monsters knew that a cultivator had come in, they were not strong enough to catch the cultivator. They originally wanted to sneak out behind him, but now they have a backer to lead them, so they can leave openly. Moreover, Jialong's strength is very strong. It is one of the most powerful monsters in the secret realm. If they leave with it, their own safety is also guaranteed. As for those low-level monsters, Jialong was too lazy to spend energy on them. After all, he created a force not to embark on the road of hegemony, but just wanted someone to help take care of some trivial matters, such as taking care of spiritual medicine, so that it can have more time to practice. Not bad, not bad. This king will naturally never treat you and other ministers of the dragon badly. Jialong looked at the monsters in front of him who bowed their heads and surrendered, nodded very satisfied, and promised casually. At the same time, he also took out some third-level spiritual objects and distributed them to the monsters present. The monsters didn't expect to be rewarded as soon as they surrendered. They were very excited and felt that they had not followed the wrong master. All kinds of good words kept coming out of their mouths. Let's go. The secret realm will be closed soon. The dragon was very satisfied with this. He let out a long roar and flew towards the gate first. As for the spiritual objects in the lake, the mature ones were sealed by it, and the immature ones were pulled out and temporarily planted in the spiritual plant jade card of the Yuanying cultivator it captured. After going out and finding the territory, it will plant them again. However, the space is limited, and some third-level spiritual objects that are not precious were all rewarded to these monsters. Li Chengshen, who was hiding in the cave, could only vaguely hear some of the conversation and thought that the dragon was an ambitious person. But on second thought, what does this have to do with him? He is not a cultivator from the south region. After leaving the secret realm, he will return to the family and try to impact the Yuanying. And he can only leave safely after the dragon leaves. Li Chengshen waited for 2 or 3 hours, but did not hear the sound of the dragon again. Only then did he boldly use his spiritual sense to carefully explore it. After confirming that it had left, he hurriedly drilled out from the ground, changed his appearance, and flew towards the gate at full speed. Perhaps because he followed the dragon, the road was smooth and he left the secret realm smoothly. As soon as he stepped out of the secret realm, countless eyes were fixed on Li Chengshen. Seeing that he did not have a Yuanying elder, a Yuanying said, "Hand over the storage magic weapon, and I will let you go." The demon tribe not far away took a look and then retracted their gazes. It seemed that the two sides should have reached some kind of temporary agreement. Li Chengshen, who had been on guard for a long time, secretly activated the Earth Escape talisman hidden in his wide sleeves, but pretended to be terrified and retreated timidly. The Yuanings did not think so. The secret realm would be closed in a few days. If he hid in it now, he would have to come out in the end. Unless he planned to stay in the secret realm forever. But just as he was about to retreat into the secret realm, a flash of spiritual light flashed in his palm, and such a large cultivator disappeared out of thin air. The Yuanings were slightly startled. They didn't expect that he would do such a small trick under their noses, and he hadn't been discovered yet. But no one chased him. First, it was a loss of face, and second, there were still their younger generations in the secret realm. And they had more important things to deal with, that is, competing with the demons for the ownership of the secret realm. At this critical moment, any Yuaning is a very important combat force, and you can't lose the big because of the small. As more and more cultivators came out of the secret realm, the news that a giant and cultivator got a big fantasy dream fruit spread like wildfire. But the descriptions of Li Chengsheng were all kinds of strange and different. Some said he was a white-clothed swordsman, some said he practiced poison skills, and some said he controlled thousands of insects. The reason why there are so many versions of the description is that most of the cultivators who really fought with Li Chengsheng have died in the hands of the dragon. Words can melt gold, not to mention that many of them heard it from hearsay and didn't know the real situation. However, the most widely spread rumor is that he controls 2 fire-attributed spirit birds. Is it fellow Taoist Li? Bai Qiushan had some doubts in his heart. But he knew that Li Chengsheng had 3 third-level spirit birds. If he was really in a critical moment, he should not hide his strength. For this reason, Bai Qiushan also used the backup of the positioning magic weapon to find where Li Chengsheng was. But he could not sense the whereabouts of the magic weapon at all, which means, in the secret realm? Could it be that fellow Taoist Li has fallen? Reason told him that it was unlikely, but reality was reality. In fact, after Li Chengsheng obtained the Great Illusion Dream Fruit, he detonated the positioning magic weapon and blocked the attacks of some monks. That's why he could not sense the existence of the magic weapon. Li Chengsheng knew nothing about this. Now he just wanted to return to Banyan Island as soon as possible. I'm so tired. Zhang Fengwu collapsed in the chair and said weakly, I never thought that one day I would be so tired from checking the jade slips. This made Li Zhirui feel a little embarrassed. Thank you for your hard work. In addition to the couple, Daking and Fengpeng were also helping. As for Zhaking, he didn't have the patience to do such things and ran away early in the morning. But the harvest was very rich. Speaking of this, Zhang Fengwu's body suddenly surged with power, and he instantly became radiant and energetic. Li Zhirui's face also showed a bright smile. No one had ever thought that this Yuaning cultivator, who used secret methods to turn himself into a zombie, actually had a guess about how to break through the god transformation. And many of the steps have been verified by him. Although it is not perfect, it points out the direction for Li Zhirui to move forward. This is extremely important to him now, and he will never agree to it even if he uses a 5th-level spiritual object in exchange. What's more, in addition to guesses, there are also some good things in the remaining hundreds of jade slips, which greatly enriches the family's heritage. With this guess, your path to the spiritual transformation will be much smoother than other nascent souls, Zhang Fengwu said with a smile, and it can also make me feel much more relaxed, with ready-made insights to comprehend. Yes, after Brother 9 breaks through the spiritual transformation, maybe I can also take a step further, Dakwing also joked. There is no need to say such unfamiliar words between us. Li Zhirui looked at the two helplessly. Just as the few people were joking, an unexpected person, a person that Zhang Fengwu and Li Zhirui thought about day and night, returned to the family. Dad? Mom? I'm back, a crisp and pleasant voice sounded at the door. Sure. Is it really you? Sure. Zhang Fengwu turned around and looked, but he couldn't believe his eyes. Chapter 740 Difficulty. It's me. Mom. I'm back. Li Chengshou ran in with red eyes and hugged Zhang Fengwu's arm tightly. You damn girl. You haven't come back for so many years. Do you know how worried we are about you? Zhang Fengwu hit Li Chengshou hard with tears in his eyes. Mom. You hit me too hard, it hurts, Li Chengshou said coquettishly. The resentment in Zhang Fengwu's heart disappeared instantly, and he asked quickly, Are you okay? Does it still hurt? It's okay, as long as Mom is not angry with me, stinky girl. Zhang Fengwu didn't know that he was being plotted. Li Zhirui was calmer and said in a gentle voice, You are willing to come back, So I think you have achieved your wish. Yeah, you and Xiaoyu have successfully been promoted to 4th grade spirit beasts, and I have also successfully broken through the late giant stage, but I still can't reach the threshold of Yuanying. How old are you? Don't be so anxious, just let it go, and it will come to fruition one day. Li Chengshuo nodded seriously. I'll remember it. Okay, Shu'er just came back, and you start preaching. Zhang Fengwu interrupted the conversation between the father and daughter forcefully, but the next moment, his voice became very gentle, saying, Sure, go back and rest first. If there's anything, it won't be too late to talk about it tomorrow. Li Chengshuo obeyed. After all, she really had nothing to say. Her experience over the years was not much different from that of other cultivators. It was the same experience, injuries, and opportunities. And she didn't want to talk about her past pain. Although the matter was over, her parents would still be sad and upset, and she didn't want to see this scene. Because of Li Chengshuo's return, Li Zhirui postponed his retreat and used these days to help her answer her doubts and questions about cultivation as much as possible. In addition, there are gifts for her, 3 3rd-grade Taiyin spiritual objects. Whether it is refined to strengthen the life magic weapon or fed to the spirit beast, it will greatly enhance one's own strength. Dad, is it very difficult to break through the nascent soul? Yes, if the foundation is only one out of dozens of key training cultivators, then the golden core is hundreds of foundations, and the nascent soul is hundreds of golden cores, or even more. Li Zhirui said in a deep voice, mind, understanding, opportunity, and aptitude are all indispensable, so you must be prepared for the feeling of not being able to make any progress for a long time. Even though Li Chengshuo was prepared in his heart, he felt a sense of powerlessness when he heard these words, as if he suddenly thought of something, and asked quickly, Dad, is my brother not back yet? What? Do you want to compete with Shenzhe? But sometimes, one step faster is every step faster. Li Chengsheng broke through to the late giant stage many years earlier than Li Chengshuo, and now he has definitely gone further on the road of seeking the truth. The object you need to compare yourself with is always yourself. After saying that, Li Zhirui got up and left. She had already taught everything she needed to teach, and had answered all the questions and solved all the doubts. The rest depended on her own efforts and understanding. Are you going to retreat? Zhang Fengwu looked at the storage magic weapon in front of him, scanned it with his spiritual sense, and found that it was full of spiritual stones and spiritual objects. He knew without thinking that it was prepared for them. It's time to try it. We can't just waste time. Don't worry about retreating. I'll protect the family. Li Zhirui didn't say anything like thank you or trouble. He walked straight into the retreat room, activated the formation, and began to retreat. The breakthrough of the nascent soul to the god transformation is essentially a process of transformation of the soul, so the speculation was also based on this. But how important is the soul? How dare he act casually? He was very cautious every time, which led to a relatively slow speed. Time passed quickly, and it seemed that in the blink of an eye, several years had passed. Boom boom, Li Zhirui has been in seclusion for several years, and has been perfecting the conjectures left by the zombie. There are still some results, but they are relatively small. As for the progress, it is already very fast. Anyway, he is not in a hurry. But on this day, he had to come out of seclusion, because it was an important day for Xiao Kang to survive the 4th level thunder tribulation. Ank! A dragon roar that had already revealed its majesty resounded through the sky. Facing the thunder that fell from the sky, Xiao Kang actually rushed into the air and planned to face the thunder head-on. Is this Ruzu's 3rd spirit beast Kang Jiao? So powerful, don't you find that the appearance of the Kang Jiao ancestor is very similar to that of a real dragon? This shows that his bloodline grade is very high. Being able to contract such a spirit beast is of great benefit to his own cultivation. It's so enviable. Spirit beasts and us complement each other. Just because you get a dragon egg, can you really cultivate such an excellent spirit beast? Humph! The man knew he was in the wrong, snorted pretentiously, and ran away in shame. The thunderbolt struck Xiao Kang, but it did not break his physical defense at all. Instead, it allowed him to temper his body again with the help of Thunderbolt. Several thunderbolts struck down in succession, and the tribesmen watching were terrified, fearing that he would be seriously injured by the next thunderbolt. But Xiao Kang was not stupid. From the 5th thunderbolt, he did not continue to resist, but after weakening it with magical spells, he continued to enjoy the pleasure of being bathed in thunderbolt. After all, Thunderbolt forging is not easy to control, and it is rare, so Xiao Kang must seize the opportunity. The thunderbolt struck down mercilessly, and Xiao Kang, who was at ease at first, became very embarrassed, but fortunately, the thunderbolt had passed, and only the last demon calamity remained. Facing Xiao Kang, who had a pure heart, the demon illusion could not seduce him at all. But in a moment, a spiritual light fell from the sky and enveloped Xiao Kang. Another nascent soul was born in the Li family. How enviable. I wonder when we will have a nascent soul true lord. Because it was only Xiao Kang who broke through, the Li family did not go to great lengths to block the news. The next day, it spread throughout the entire Wangxian's Hao, causing a wave of envy. Ancestor. I have something to discuss with you. After Xiao Kang's tribulation was over, Li Zhirui planned to go back to continue his retreat, but was stopped by Li Wenli. What is it? His face suddenly became solemn, because if it was not an important matter, he would not be asked to speak. But he was indeed too nervous, which was a good thing. After so many years of cultivation and breeding, the Li family was finally able to fully promote the third-grade spirit beast. And all the clansmen were also full of expectations, hoping that they could get a spirit beast with a richer bloodline. Ancestor, now there is a question, should each clan member be given a third-grade spirit beast, or should we start with a group of children who are still in the Linghu Academy? Li Wenli asked with a look of embarrassment. If it was the former, the Li family's third-grade spirit beast eggs would not be enough anyway, as the Li family now had thousands of members. But if it was the latter, the other members would definitely be dissatisfied, wondering why they couldn't get a third-grade spirit beast. Chapter 741, Alert. Li Zhirui frowned upon hearing this. If this matter is not handled properly, it may sow the seeds of disaster for the family. After thinking about it carefully, he said, each member of the clan will be given a third-grade spirit beast, but first focus on the children in front of us. Moreover, most of the clan members have contracted spirit beasts early in order to speed up their cultivation after the breakthrough. This contract cannot be cancelled. Let them claim it after the breakthrough. To put it bluntly, there are very few clan members who can break through the Jinden stage. If they can break through the Jinden stage, what is a mere third-grade spirit beast egg? It can also add a Jinden combat force to the family. If there are not enough spirit beast eggs, let them wait a little longer. The advantage of cultivating spirit beasts is like a snowball, which will grow bigger and bigger. Thank you for your advice, ancestor. Li Wenli retreated with satisfaction. Could he think of such a simple solution? How is it possible? It's just that the matter is of great importance, involving thousands of clan members in the family. As the clan leader, he doesn't have such great prestige to make everyone accept it. But Li Zhirui is different. As the most senior and powerful ancestor in the family, even though he has been living in seclusion for many years and seems to have been forgotten by the family, as long as he speaks, no one dares to stand up and oppose. When Li likes to put the blame on you, after he left, Zhang Fengwu complained very dissatisfiedly. Li Zhirui shook his head disapprovingly and said, he is also for the stability and face of the family. If someone makes trouble, can he not deal with it? If it is light, it will not have deterrent effect, and if it is heavy, it will be impersonal, and it will make outsiders laugh at it. For him, it is just a matter of a word. What's the big deal? Okay, this matter won't take much time. The next day, Li Zhirui attended the family meeting and announced the distribution plan of the third-grade spirit beasts. At the end, he asked, what do you think, elders? What can they say? What do they dare to say? If it is not good for the development of the family, they occupy the righteousness and have to consider speaking carefully, not to mention that this plan is indeed the most suitable and appropriate. So, in a group of approval and praise, Li Zhirui floated away. The news spread quickly, and the tribesmen had different thoughts. Some people were dissatisfied and wanted to make trouble. After all, even if they could not sign a contract, it would be great to use the master servant's contract to cultivate a fighting force or sell it. But after hearing that this plan was issued by Ruzu, everyone stopped and dared not have any other ideas. Most of the third-grade spirit beast eggs in the Li family's warehouse were dragon beasts, with only a small number of spirit beasts such as Chao Yuangwu and Qingxuangui. In order to get more dragon beast eggs, the group of species beasts worked really hard, and almost squeezed them dry. The dragon beasts, who were obviously lustful, could not resist now, and had to be drugged to obey their nature. I will continue to retreat. If Xiao Kang comes to me, you can let him find a place in the cave to practice, or go to the Spirit Beast mountain range to open a cave by himself, and help him with these practice resources. Li Zhirui's current cultivation level can no longer make any progress. It would be a waste to keep those practice resources in his hands, so he simply distributed them to Zhang Fengwu and others. Don't worry, just focus on your retreat. I'm here outside, then I'll go. Zhang Fengwu responded and watched him close the door of the quiet room. She had very complicated feelings about this matter. She was looking forward to Li Zhirui's breakthrough, but she was also afraid of his breakthrough. The former was because after his breakthrough, her future would be much smoother. The latter was because his cultivation speed was too fast and she couldn't catch up. One day, Li Zhirui broke through the refining void and ascended to the upper realm, while she was still in the transformation of the spirit, or even the nascent soul, and the two were separated in two realms. I'm afraid they will never see each other again in their lives. Alice, Zhang Fengwu sighed. Obviously, she was also very diligent and hard-working in her cultivation, and her aptitude was also dual spiritual roots. So why was she so far behind? She really couldn't understand. But fortunately, she didn't give up on herself, but became more determined. She had to work harder to cultivate. She didn't believe it. She was no worse than Li Zhirui in every aspect. With double the effort, she would definitely be able to catch up with him. Li Zhirui, who walked into the quiet room, didn't know Zhang Fengwu's worries and thoughts. The moment he walked in, he began to clear the distracting thoughts in his sea of consciousness. When he sat on the futon, he was already calm. He started to practice the technique and began to temper his soul. The purpose of this process was to strengthen the soul and then transform it into yang. After so many years of practice, Li Zhirui's soul has reached 95% of its yang transformation. But this last half, located at the core of the soul, he must be extremely careful to ensure that there is no mistake, and there can be no negligence or hidden dangers. That's why he kept tempering his soul, wanting to make it stronger, so that it would be safer to transform into yang. This is a completely slow process that requires time and patience. But even if this step is completed, it doesn't mean that Li Zhirui can break through. He still has to trigger the thunder tribulation and survive this dangerous disaster. There are also possible external obstructions. The surrounding Yuanying forces, one by one, absolutely do not want Li Zhirui to break through the transformation of the spirit, Zuanbing sect, in the sect hall. How is the cultivation level of the Li family member? Have you found out? The head of the sect asked the empty palace. Suddenly, a wave appeared in the dark, like a human figure. He should be in the middle stage of the nascent soul. He has been in seclusion recently, striving for the late stage of the nascent soul. Has he started to strive for the late stage of the nascent soul? The head of the sect muttered to himself. Too fast. He had read Li Zhirui's information and knew that his cultivation progress was very fast, which was not something that a small family could cultivate. The figure listened silently. Increase the intensity of the investigation. Always pay attention to Li Zhirui, the head of the sect ordered solemnly. Does the head of the sect think that he can break through to the god transformation? There was a hint of surprise in his voice. In his opinion, Li Zhirui and the Li family were not worth worrying about. It was just a matter of how the Zuanbing sect could not spare any effort, otherwise they would be destroyed by research. How can we underestimate a character who can lead the foundation-building family to develop to this day? The head of the sect shook his head and said, among the surrounding forces, it is impossible for the Great Snow Mountain to give birth to a fifth-level monster. It's not that there are no monsters that have broken through the fifth level among the monsters, but this place is the human territory. How can it allow the birth of a fifth-level monster? The monsters of the Great Snow Mountain also know this, so any monsters that want to break through the fifth level will leave, either to the 10,000 mountains or to the Northern Territory wasteland. Therefore, although the biggest enemy of the Zuanbing sect is the monsters, the strength of both sides is equal, so there is no need to worry that the monsters will threaten their own inheritance. But the Li family is different. Not only are they developing rapidly, but they also do not have the restriction that the monsters cannot give birth to the fifth level. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 742 Regret. Therefore, in the eyes of the headmaster, the threat of the Li family is far greater than that of the demon clan. If the Zhuanbing sect was not surrounded by the demon clan and not bordering Wangxian's Hao, he would have wanted to summon his disciples to attack the Li family of Wangxian Island. The headmaster is right. I will give the order right away. The figure seemed to be convinced by him, responded, and fled from the hall. Alice, the headmaster sighed, his expression became firm, and murmured, there is something that really needs to be done. Even if it will cause heavy losses to the sect, it is better than watching the threat grow stronger. Ding ding ding, the headmaster rang the jade bell, and the identity jade cards of the elders in the Zhuanbing sect immediately sensed something. They put down their affairs and rushed to the hall as soon as possible. The headmaster summoned us, but is there something important to discuss? An elder asked somewhat impolitely. The head of the sect looked at him and smiled gently. Don't worry, Elder Chu. The other elders haven't come yet. His faction failed in the battle for the leader, so they were naturally dissatisfied with him, but the head of the sect didn't care. As a winner, he still had some tolerance. When all the elders arrived, the head of the sect threw a big thunder directly, which made everyone dizzy and couldn't come back to their senses for a long time. I decided to take action against the monsters of Taixu State and take back Taixu State. After an unknown amount of time, someone spoke up. Please think twice before you act, head of the sect. Taixu State has developed very fast in recent years. There are 5 4th-level monsters in the open, not to mention that they have a close relationship with the Great Snow Mountain. One move can affect the whole body. Even the elders of the same faction as the head of the sect did not stand up to agree at this time, because they were unwilling to do such a dangerous thing. I know that the head of the sect has just taken office and wants to gain some achievements to prove himself, but there is no need to bet on the lives of all the brothers and disciples. Right, Elder Chu said in a gloomy tone. The sect master must have his reasons for doing this. Another elder naturally could not let the sect master be attacked, and immediately spoke up to defend him. Really? Then does Elder Wang know what the reason is? Elder Wang's expression froze. He really didn't know why the sect master suddenly went crazy and came up with such an unprecedented idea. He didn't even discuss it with them in advance to let them prepare. Thinking of this, Elder Wang felt a little dissatisfied with the sect master. Quiet, the sect master shouted, my fellow disciples, listen to my reasons first, and then we can vote. Then, he repeated the Li family's threat theory, emphasizing that when the Li family grows up, it will threaten the Zhuanbing sect. Moreover, solving the Taixu demon clan will not only reduce the pressure faced by the sect, but also gain a very good spiritual land, which can slowly get rid of the expensive low-level spiritual objects purchased from the outside world. In short, there are many benefits to conquering Taixu's How. Elder Chu had been tense, waiting for someone to find fault. As soon as the headmaster finished speaking, he heard him sneer. Hey, headmaster, why don't you mention how many disciples will die in this process? Have you forgotten, or do you know in your heart how huge a number that will be, and by then, I don't know how many of you will be left. This sentence went straight to everyone's heart. The older people get, the more afraid they are of death. They still have many years to live, and no one wants to die halfway. Also, I don't understand why you think a small Li family poses such a big threat. The elders present were not very clear about the development of the Li family, and they just felt that the headmaster's words were too exaggerated. Taixu's How is now a piece of rotten meat on the sect. If we don't deal with it quickly, it will soon affect other places and eventually cause the entire sect to rot. The head of the sect shouted sternly. Li Zhirui is already impacting the late nascent soul stage. Do you want to wait until he breaks through the spiritualization stage before you regret it? As expected of a far-sighted head, you can actually think of things so far in the future, Elder Chu said sarcastically. Now the Zhuanbing sect is still developing very fast, and its strength is increasing again and again. It can be seen that Taixu's How has no influence at all. The head of the sect looked like he didn't want to talk, and announced weakly, in this case, let's vote. Not long after, the result came out. Most of the elders chose to oppose. They didn't really want to fight with the monsters. Seeing such a result, the head of the sect sighed helplessly, and said in a tone of regret, one day, you will regret it. Huh? Elder Chu teased, I don't know if it will be hundreds of years later, or thousands of years later. Hearing this, the head of the sect left the hall with a sullen face. I wonder why you want to block my way. Li Chengsheng was about to pass through the border between the south and east regions when 3 giant and demon cultivators suddenly flew out from a distance. The border between the 2 regions is very chaotic because both sides are not well managed. Therefore, Those who linger here are either demon cultivators who hide their identities or cultivators who have caused trouble and are hiding. And this time, Li Zhirui encountered 3 demon cultivators. Dao, why do you ask now, Ingli? Hand over the storage magic weapon quickly, so we will consider sparing your life, the demon cultivator said arrogantly. It seems that they do have the advantage, with more people and not bad strength, but when they really fight, the situation is reversed in an instant. Li Zhirui quickly gained the upper hand. It was also their bad luck. They could have ambushed anyone else, but they had to wait for the sun spirit root, and the 3 spirit beasts they contracted were all Li Zhirui, who was extremely yang and strong. If the opponent was a cultivator, the restraint effect would not be so obvious, but who made them evil demon cultivators? As soon as they knew they were no match for the enemy, the 3 demon cultivators decided to cut off their tails and save their lives. Want to escape? Have you got my permission? Li Zhirui looked at their actions and shouted, asking Aang and Ali to entangle the 2 demon cultivators respectively, while he burst out with all his strength, killing one of the demon cultivators first, and then went to help. Aren't you afraid that we will be in a desperate situation, huh? If you really have the courage, you would have fought hard long ago. Li Zhirui's advantage in dealing with demon cultivators and ghosts is too great, not to mention that his strength is not bad. He spent some effort, but only solved 2 demon cultivators and accidentally let one escape. He didn't take this matter to heart, because even if the demon cultivator came back to seek revenge on him, he would be sending himself to death and would not threaten his safety at all. But soon, Li Zhirui regretted it. A few hours later, the demon cultivator caught up with a Yuaning demon cultivator. Are you the cultivator who killed my 2 brothers? Wang Zhonghe looked at him with cold eyes. Just this one glance made Li Zhirui feel cold and his body tremble. He never thought that the 2 demon cultivators would have a nascent soul brother. If he had known from the beginning, he would never let the demon cultivator leave. Chapter 743 Escape. People say that demon cultivators are ruthless, but it is not surprising that a few unique demon cultivators are born under such a large number. This is the case with Wang Zhonghe, a Yuaning demon cultivator. They are 3 twins born from the same mother, and all of them have 3 spiritual roots. They grew up together since childhood and have escaped death many times. They have a deep relationship. Not to mention that his 2 younger brothers sacrificed a lot to push him, the eldest brother, to the Yuaning realm. Wang Zhonghe has been trying to find a way to help his 2 younger brothers break through, but suddenly heard the bad news. It is conceivable how angry he was. Wang Zhonghe looked at Li Zhirui with resentment in his eyes, and his voice seemed to come from the underworld, saying, I won't let you die easily, which will only benefit you. I want you to be in the pain of wanting to live but not being able to die at all times. I want all your relatives and friends to die in front of you. Before he finished speaking, a black hand appeared out of thin air and grabbed Li Zhirui directly. The gap between Yuaning and Jinden is like a natural moat. Li Zhirui had no ability to resist and could only flee in a panic. If he remembered correctly, there was a Yuaning sect more than 1,000 miles to the northeast. As long as he ran there, he would be safe. Want to run? Wang Zhonghe sneered, and his figure flashed, and he appeared only a few miles behind Li Zhirui. It's a pity that I don't have the Earth Escape Talisman in my hand, so I can only use the soul-distracting jade slip my father gave me. Li Zhirui tried to escape with his own strength, but reality told him that it was impossible to succeed, and doing so would only put himself in danger. There was no other way, so he could only take out the last life-saving method at the bottom of the box. He immediately activated the soul-distracting jade slip, and a phantom that was exactly the same as Li Zhirui emerged from it, saying, Shenjie, are you in trouble again? Trouble you? The situation was urgent, and Li Zhirui didn't have time to explain so much. He bowed and said, and then fled to the distance. Help! You actually have a Yuaning father, but even so, you can't escape this disaster. Having said that, Wang Zhonghe still turned around and ordered the demon cultivator next to him, who was like a dead dog, chase him. If you lose him, you must know what the consequences will be. Although the power of the split soul is only 1/10 of the original body, it is not his opponent, but it can still entangle him for half an hour. Half an hour. He didn't know where he escaped to, and he could only pin his hopes on this waste. Don't think about running away. There is a trace of magic power left in your body. No matter how far away you are, as long as I think about it, you will be like a bomb, and explode into a bloody mess with a bang. The split soul pretended not to see it, and let the giant and demon cultivator chase Li Chengsheng and fight with Wang Zhonghe. Without the vine spirit seeds in his hand, he could only use magic spells to entangle him, and because of the limited magic power, he couldn't squander it as much as the original body, so he was a little restrained when he took action. Fortunately, the distraction only needed to buy more time for Li Chengsheng's escape, not to really defeat the demon cultivator. On the other side, Li Chengsheng ran wildly, not paying attention to the giant and demon cultivator who was chasing him relentlessly. He didn't stop until he flew thousands of miles in one breath. Run. Why don't you run away? The demon cultivator shouted bluffingly. It's just a defeated general. Is there any need to run away? Li Chengsheng looked at him with disdain. Humph. Do you think I don't know that you have 2 third-level spirit beasts in your hands? But with them, you'd better surrender obediently to avoid suffering physical pain. After saying that, the demon cultivator proudly offered a black flag. For a while, the wind blew violently, and the evil spirit gathered. It was clearly noon, but the surrounding world became a little gray. A green-faced and fanged evil ghost emerged from the black flag, exuding a 4th-level aura. This is the 10,000 Ghosts flag refined by Wang Zhonghe, but in order to promote the Ghost King to the 4th level, all other ghosts have become nutrients. Li Chengsheng's face changed drastically. He didn't expect that the nascent soul demon cultivator would give him such a precious magic weapon, but the next moment, he calmed down, because he found that the Ghost King's breath was weak, and he had just broken through and didn't even have time to consolidate his realm. If that's the case, it's not impossible to fight. The combat power of ghosts is naturally weaker than the realm, and this is a 4th-level evil ghost enslaved by people. It has almost no intelligence, and its combat power has been reduced a lot. In addition, Li Chengsheng is a solar spirit root, a Li, a Yang, and even the 3rd spirit beast Yang Li Firebird that has not been exposed. All of them are restraining ghosts. And he also has the 4th-level formation tailored for him by Jiang Fengwu in his hand, the pure Yang 4 fire formation. With the increase and decrease of 1, it is really possible to defeat this 4th-level evil ghost that has just broken through. The mind turned 100 times, all in a moment. After thinking clearly about the advantages and disadvantages of both sides, Li Chengsheng no longer thought about escaping, but was eager to try. Maybe he could defeat the 4th-level Ghost King with a giant in realm. Even though it was just a ghost. A Li, Yang Li, set up the formation. The red formation plate flew out of Li Chengsheng's hand, and the formation flag automatically fell to the position. The 4 of them stood on each side. In the blink of an eye, a 4th-level formation was formed instantly, trapping all the demon cultivators and ghosts in it. There was a big sun hanging in the sky above the formation, emitting a strong yang aura, and below was a sea of 4-color fire. Their source was Li Chengsheng's damp fire and the life spirit fire of the 3 spirit beasts. Yang energy filled the entire formation. This scene shocked the demon cultivator. He didn't expect that a small giant and cultivator would dare to take the initiative to attack the 4th-level Ghost King. As for Li Chengsheng's reserve and the 3rd spirit beast, he didn't take it seriously at all. You don't know what you are talking about, and you don't know whether you live or die, he snorted coldly and urged the Ghost King to attack. If it weren't for the magic power that Wang Zong left in the 10,000 Ghosts flag, he wouldn't be able to activate it for long with his cultivation. The Ghost King held a heavy knife with a ghostly aura. As if 10,000 ghosts crawled out of it. The thick cold evil spirit made the nearby spiritual fires wilted, and then he slashed at the formation. The formation shook slightly, but soon calmed down. Take my attack. Li Chengsheng, who presided over the formation, summoned huge fireballs. Each fireball contained the Sun Spirit Fire and the Southern Ming Li Fire. They were extremely yang and pure, and they were the most restraining of ghosts. Are you tickling the Ghost King? The demon cultivator controlled the Ghost King to continuously smash the fireballs, while laughing loudly. But the next moment, the smile on his face froze. He slowly lowered his head and saw that a fire spear had pierced his chest from behind at some point, and the heart that was supposed to be beating non-stop was emitting a burnt fragrance. Ahem, you? Before he could finish his words, he fell down and fell into the blazing sea of fire below and disappeared. Chapter 744, Blessing and Disaster. The Ghost King without anyone to control him was even more dangerous, like a wild beast that had broken free, ferocious and violent, and launched a crazy attack. Although Li Chengsheng had tried his best to weaken the Ghost King, it was a 4th-level Ghost King after all, and its strength was far superior to his. If it weren't for this great formation, he would have been suppressed long ago. No. This can't go on any longer, he felt anxious, and the longer he delayed, the more dangerous he would be. Li Chengsheng desperately urged the formation, launching all kinds of fierce spells to attack the Ghost King, including fireballs that covered the sky, meteorites that fell from the sky, and exploding solar spirit fire. As long as he could cast them, he used them all. But the Ghost King was like a towering and solid checkpoint, standing in front of him like a rock, and he didn't give him any hope of shaking. Gradually, the offensive slowed down. I was just daydreaming, and I actually thought I could deal with the 4th level Ghost King. Li Chengsheng laughed at himself, and his consciousness slowly sank. Brother, the 3 spirit beasts noticed that something was wrong with him and shouted in a hurry. The divine turtle Zhenhe, who was told by Li Zhirui to practice the visualization method all the time, suddenly showed his power in the sea of consciousness and forced out several black air. I was actually affected by the evil spirit of this Ghost King. Fortunately, there were reminders from the spirit beasts and the existence of the visualization method, otherwise he would have become the food of the Ghost King if he continued to be depressed. Li Chengsheng, who had woken up, completely integrated his mind into the formation, as if he had turned into the sun in the sky, the strongest and most yang, the purest and most fierce. In a trance, he seemed to touch a trace of the law of the sun. Pop, a mysterious voice echoed in Li Chengsheng's mind, and the whole person's feeling changed drastically. Brother, you broke through, the 3 spirit beasts shouted in surprise. Li Chengsheng was also confused. He didn't expect that he would break through the bottleneck so suddenly. From then on, the door to the nascent soul was open to him. After returning, he only needed to practice for a period of time and gather his strength, and then he could receive the thunder tribulation. Ha. When Li Chengsheng came back to his senses, he couldn't help but burst into laughter. He was very excited, and tears welled up in the corners of his eyes. He had been training outside for so many years, and had gone through untold hardships and several dangerous situations. In the end, he ventured into the 4th level secret realm and seized the great fantasy dream fruit from a large number of golden elixirs. Only then did he have hope of the nascent soul. But he didn't expect that on the way home, he offended a nascent soul demon cultivator. He used the extremely precious jade slips of distraction to escape the disaster, but was chased by the 4th level Ghost King again. Fortunately, good and bad are interdependent, and good things will come after bad things. This crisis actually broke his bottleneck. Li, Yang Li, prepare to leave the formation. I will use this formation to bury this Ghost King in a grand manner to thank it for helping me break through. Although Li Chengsheng's words sounded nice, the actual situation was that they had been delayed here for too long. It seemed that they were thousands of miles apart, but for a nascent soul cultivator, it would only take a moment to burst out with all his strength. If they waited any longer, I'm afraid that the demon cultivator would catch up. After saying that, he threw a large number of spirit stones into the formation plate and took the lead in leaving the formation, followed by the 3 spirit beasts. The 4 stopped after leaving for dozens of miles. Boom boom boom, only a deafening roar and explosion was heard, and a gorgeous firework bloomed in the air. Brother, is the 4th level Ghost King dead? Aang asked uncertainly. Li Chengsheng looked far away, but the billowing smoke blocked his sight. However, he did not hear the Ghost King's voice now, so he thought it had fallen. Let's go. Hurry back to Banyan Island. I can't wait. In order to prevent others from causing trouble and delaying his journey, he did not put the spirit beast into the spirit beast bag, and took the spirit boat together and flew towards the family. At the same time, Puff, Wang Zhonghe, who had finally dealt with the distracted spirit, was about to sense the location of the 10,000 ghosts flag, when he suddenly spit out a mouthful of blood. His face was as pale as gold paper, and the whole person was shaky, as if he was about to fall down. Impossible. How could my Ghost King be killed by a small golden elixir? Wang Zhonghe shook his head frantically to deny it, unwilling to accept this fact. Although the 10,000 ghosts flag was not his lifelong magic weapon, it was also an important magic weapon that he had been refining for hundreds of years and was closely related to his own life and death, not to mention how much energy, effort and financial resources he had spent to promote the Ghost King to the 4th level. Now that the core of the magic weapon was destroyed, his soul was damaged, and all his previous efforts were in vain. If you want to blame someone, blame the giant and demon cultivator for not telling about Li Chengsheng's spiritual roots and the attributes of the spirit beasts when he reported it. Otherwise Wang Zhonghe would never give him the 10,000 ghosts flag. With a heart full of anger, he flew towards the location of the 10,000 ghosts flag at the fastest speed. Unfortunately, when he arrived, Li Chengsheng had already disappeared, and only a carbonized corpse was lying beside him, and not far away, there was a tattered black flag, on the Banyan Island, who was in deep cultivation. Li Zhirui suddenly opened his eyes and immediately took out Li Chengsheng's life card. Seeing that it was still intact, he was relieved. In fact, when the distraction jade slip was activated, he had sensed it, but he was practicing and could not be distracted. He could only wait until he finished this round of practice before checking the situation. Fortunately, nothing happened. But then again, if something really happened, at such a long distance, not to mention that Li Zhirui didn't know Li Chengsheng's location at all, even if he knew, he would not be able to arrive in time. I don't know how this kid has been doing these years, and when he will come back. Because of this interruption, he didn't have the interest to practice for a while, and simply flashed into the space to relax. Looking at the lush and green spiritual plants and spiritual medicines all over the mountains, Li Zhirui was extremely satisfied. It was because of the existence of this mysterious space that his path of practice was so smooth. As he looked at it, he felt something was wrong. He hadn't entered this space for several years, and Xiao Kang was also practicing in the outside world. There were only a few nests of spiritual bees working hard in the huge space, collecting honey and pollinating. Even if he didn't use spiritual stones to promote birth, some low-level spiritual medicine should have matured for several rounds, and the spiritual seeds were scattered everywhere, and the spiritual medicine should have grown wildly. Li Zhirui deliberately left a large piece of open space near the low-level spiritual medicines for them to grow. But now, although there are spiritual medicines growing on the original open space, they are not messy and disorderly, but well organized, as if they were specially tidied by someone. When did space develop this kind of function? Thinking of this, he narrowed his eyes unconsciously and whispered, or are there other creatures in space? Chapter 745 Contract. There are two possibilities, and no matter how you think about it, the latter is more reliable. Li Zhirui squinted his eyes unconsciously, pretending to be unaware of what happened in the space, picked some spiritual medicines, and then flashed away and left the space. At the same time, inside a mountain in the space, a short boy, as if there was some great terror in the outside world, carefully controlled his breathing. After several hours, the boy moved stealthily. The heavy soil and rocks in front of him seemed to swim in the water, and there was no obstacle at all. He quietly poked his head out of the mountain and observed the situation in the space. When he found that no one was there, he was relieved and muttered softly, "The fire cloud flower is about to mature, and the spiritual seeds must be collected, otherwise the flame-like spiritual seeds will harm the nearby spiritual medicines, and the spiritual fields I opened up in the hinterland of the mountain, I also need to pay more attention to them." A person talked a lot, and if someone heard it, they would find that he was talking about spiritual medicines, planting, maintenance, collection, etc. Alice. This world is so magical. Although it is not large, the spiritual creatures mature very quickly. I am too busy to handle it by myself. I don't know if I can cultivate a few demon spirits, so that I can be much more relaxed. The so-called demon spirits are the demons that are born from dead things such as flowers, plants and trees. It is rumored that a long time ago, they were not demons, but spirits. Although there are not many people in the tribe, they are very powerful. They live in a remote corner and no one dares to offend them. But later, no one knows what happened and the spirits were merged into the demons. However, in order to distinguish the difference between the two, or to say that there is a luxury of reviving the spirits, they are named demon spirits. Some of the demon spirits are special. Once they are born with spiritual intelligence, they can transform into humanoid forms, such as ginseng children and sesame girls. I said something was wrong in the space. It turned out that a ginseng child was born. With these words, Li Zhirui's figure slowly appeared in the air. The ginseng boy's tiny body was struck by lightning, and he froze in place, unable to move. It wasn't that he didn't want to escape. After all, this kind of demon spirit was born with the ability to escape underground. The reason why he didn't escape was that his body was intimidated by Li Zhirui's powerful pressure and couldn't move. After all, he was born not long ago, and his cultivation was only at the first level, so he naturally couldn't resist the power of the nascent soul. He stretched out his hand to hold the ginseng boy, who was only 1 foot in size, in front of him, and said with a smile, I heard that ginseng can prolong life. I wonder how many years you can prolong your life after swallowing it." Hearing this, the ginseng boy looked ashen, and his big round eyes were instantly covered with water light, and tears fell like rain, which made people feel pity. Then he changed the subject and said with a smile, "But I still have a lot of life left, so I don't need it, so you don't have to worry. I only have one request. As long as you agree, you can walk freely in this world and do whatever you want. Whether you want to cultivate spiritual medicine or cultivate a few people of the same clan, you can do it." The ginseng boy asked in a mosquito-like voice, "What request?" "Sign a contract with me." Li Zhirui looked at him with a sharp look in his eyes, and his heart was quite excited. "You know, the demon spirit clan is different from other demon clans. Their rank will change with a realm. Take the ginseng boy in front of him as an example. He is only the first level now, but his true body is the third grade purple and green treasure ginseng. Before breaking through the fourth level, his rank will not change. But as long as he breaks through the fourth level, his rank will also be promoted. This is completely different from other demon clans. They must first be promoted to higher rank and break through the bloodline shackles before they can break through, while the demon spirits are the opposite. Moreover, the demon spirits have no bloodline, but they still have similar memory inheritance, which is a more advanced inheritance method than bloodline inheritance. It can be said that the demon spirit is the most suitable demon beast for the contract of the Wanling Sutra, because they do not need spiritual objects to upgrade their bloodline, but it is very difficult to break through the rank. However, with the Wanling Sutra, as long as the contracted monk breaks through, the difficulty of breaking through the realm will not exist. Of course, demon spirits are not without flaws, such as difficult birth conditions and rare numbers. Looking at Li Zhirui's past few hundred years, Banyan Island and space have planted countless spiritual objects, but only one ginseng child has been born. Moreover, many demon spirits have difficulty moving before breaking through the third level and crossing the tribulation to transform, and are easily captured by people, and fall into a situation worse than death. As for why he did not sign a contract with a Yulu grass demon, it was mainly because his secret method of escaping was too mysterious. Li Zhirui did not have much confidence that he could keep him. If he guessed correctly, Yulu should have left a backup in the secret realm, perhaps because the cost of continuous use of the secret method was too high, or because he would lose his freedom, so he was willing to be marked by Li Zhirui in his Danshan and stay on Banyan Island to be a spiritual plant husband. Speaking of which, when the child heard that he had to sign a contract, a hint of hesitation appeared on his young face. His inherited memory told him that after signing a contract with a monk, he would fall into despair worse than death. "Don't worry, I won't hurt you. The contract is just for you to keep the secret of the space." Li Zhirui took a look and knew what he was thinking. He immediately explained, "It's not a master-servant contract, but an equal contract. You and I are the same, and there are many benefits for you." A trace of disbelief flashed in the child's eyes. Although he was just born, he knew a lot after digesting the inherited memory. "Unfortunately, people have to bow their heads under the eaves," he said aggrievedly. "Then you do it." Li Zhirui thought it was funny, but he didn't explain too much. After the contract was established, he knew that he was not lying. Although he hadn't signed a contract with a spirit beast for many years, he was still very smooth when he started. In just a moment, the contract was established. "Huh? You didn't lie to me?" The child opened his eyes in surprise, his little face full of disbelief. He did not feel oppressed by the contract, but felt a little warm. "Of course, the way of cultivation of my Li family is to help and support spirit beasts, and benefit each other," Li Zhirui said with a smile, and then explained the mystery of the treasure of all spirits. "Before you, I also contracted 3 spirit beasts, namely the 4th grade green turtle, the 5th grade blue rock and the 5th grade green dragon. They are now 4th grade spirit beasts. You must work hard to cultivate." The boy pursed his lips and said, "It has only been 3 years since I was born. Give me 100 or 200 years, I will definitely surpass them." "Not bad. Very ambitious. I also think you can do it." Li Zhirui did not discourage him, but echoed. Chapter 746 Escape. After talking with him and developing some feelings, Li Zhirui said, "I'll give you a name. Your true body is the purple jade ginseng, so I'll call you Kengayu, and your nickname is Iozi. How about that?" As a bad namer, he thought this name was already very good. But the ginseng boy was a smart kid with his own ideas. He said, "I'm the purple jade ginseng now, but when I break through the 4th level in the future, My true body will change. Do I have to change my name? Let's just not give it a full name for now. Just call me Akan. Li Zhirui didn't care. Names were just for convenience. He nodded and said, okay, you decide. There should be a cultivation method in your inheritance, right? If not, that would be troublesome. In the human realm, high-level demon clan techniques are rare, not to mention the rare demon spirit clan. There is no trace of any techniques on the market, and it has to fit Akan. If there is no technique, then one can only use the most basic breathing method to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and the essence of the sun and the moon, and slowly increase one's own cultivation. Even if Li Zhirui can refine elixirs, there are all kinds of spiritual objects in the space, but the absorption efficiency is not high. At most it can catch up with wild monsters, but there are inherited techniques. Yes, I inherited the Yuan Di Kun Health Preservation Sutra, which is the most suitable technique for Shenling cultivation. Speaking of this, Shen's little face showed a bright smile. Hearing this, Li Zhirui was also a little surprised. In addition to Xiao Kang's inherited technique, Da Qing and Xiao Qing's techniques were relatively ordinary. It was only after the bloodline evolved that they awakened new techniques. Then you must practice well, don't let this technique down, Li Zhirui continued. I will refine a few furnaces of first-level elixirs for you, but the first level is the time to lay the foundation. You can't just swallow elixirs to practice. You have to polish your magic power. He will be in seclusion for a long time next, and he can't take care of Akan at all. He can only let him take care of himself and tell him about this matter. By the way, I asked Xiao Kang to send a few jade slips of spiritual plants in. If you have nothing to do, you can study them. The reason why Li Zhirui signed a contract with him was that the demon spirit clan was special. As long as they were well cultivated, they might advance and break through in the future, and they might be faster than Xiao Kang. The second reason was to find a suitable labor force to help him take care of the many spiritual objects in the space. Although the space is extremely mysterious, any spiritual object can survive as long as it is still alive. However, some spiritual objects need to be preserved by special methods after they mature, or the maturity period is very short, and they will soon decay and turn into spiritual seeds again, so they must be picked in time. In the past, Xiao Kang helped to deal with it, but now he is in the outside world, and Li Zhirui himself is busy with the impact of the spirit transformation. Over the years, I don't know how many spiritual objects he has missed. Now that he has Akan, this situation will not happen again in the future. Okay, Akan was very happy. After thinking about it, he said, I want to cultivate some of my kind and raise them in this world. What do you think? You can do it if you want, but in order to keep it secret, I will leave a backup in their spirits. In this regard, Li Zhirui would never give in. Akan hesitated. Although he believed that Li Zhirui would not take action against his future people, being controlled by others like this is not much different from being a slave. He didn't want his people to become slaves. If you don't want to, you can go to the outside world Banyan Island to cultivate. At that time, as long as they swear not to take action against the Li family and not to harm the interests of the Li family, they can come and go freely on the island, Li Zhirui added after considering it. He did this for his own reasons. If Akan could really cultivate a demon spirit, maybe the demon spirit clan has some special method that can increase the probability of the birth of a demon spirit, then he would definitely find a way to abduct him and make him sign a contract with his clan members. In this way, Akan not only has a clan member, but a member of the Li family also has a rare demon spirit. Then I'd better go to Banyan Island to cultivate another clan member. Li Zhirui didn't say anything, but only reminded him that he had to stay in the space to take care of these spirits in the next few decades. Wait until you break through the spirit transformation. I wonder if I can break through the third level in one fell swoop with the help of the feedback mana, Akan said suddenly. He felt that he must have broken through the second level in a few decades, and the huge mana after Li Zhirui broke through the spirit transformation might really help him enter the third level. The result will be known at that time. Li Zhirui's eyes lit up, but he was not sure. After all, this kind of thing had never happened before. If it really succeeded, it would save Akan dozens or even hundreds of years of cultivation time. And because it is the unique feature of the Wanling Sutra, there will be no problems such as floating mana and unstable foundation. After chatting for a while, Li Zhirui and Asan began to get busy. He first sent a voice message to Xiao Kang, briefly telling him about Hassan's existence and asking him to exchange some basic methods of spiritual plants from the Sutra Pavilion so that Hassan could learn. After doing this, he picked first-level spiritual herbs and started to refine first-level spiritual pills. Li Zhirui has not refined first-level spiritual pills for many years, but with his alchemy practice, it is only a first-level spiritual pill, which is not difficult at all. And as long as he spends a little time, he can refine a top-grade spiritual pill with Danwen. Therefore, the refining efficiency is very high. In just half a day, hundreds of bottles of first-level spiritual pills were refined. Since all of them are top-grade spiritual pills, it is more than enough to satisfy Hassan's first-level practice. Demon Spirit Ginseng Child, Xiao Kang was quite curious after hearing the voice transmission. He didn't expect that a demon spirit was born in the years when he was away from the space. He immediately took action. He couldn't wait to see what the ginseng boy looked like. Xiao Kang didn't hide his actions, so he soon caught the attention of Zhang Fengwu and others. Why did Zhirui suddenly want to plant the husband's method? Unfortunately, Xiao Kang didn't come out again after entering the quiet room, and no one could answer their doubts. Is this the legendary demon ginseng boy? Originally, Li Zhirui didn't want Xiao Kang to go to the space to practice, but he couldn't stand his shamelessness, so he had no choice but to send him in. But what he didn't know was that the main reason why Xiao Kang didn't want to stay on Wangxin Island was that the group of dragon beasts on the island would come to harass him from time to time. You know, Xiao Kang is the only 5th-grade spirit beast of the Li family, and it is also a dragon body, which has a great attraction to the group of female dragon beasts in the mountains. It made him upset, but he couldn't do anything to the group of dragon beasts. After all, these dragons are precious treasures of the Li family. If they are accidentally broken, it will be bad. He originally thought of leaving Wangxin Island and avoiding the limelight, but he didn't expect Li Zhirui to have conveyed a message to him, so it would be better to hide directly in the space. Chapter 747 Brothers and Sisters. After hearing about Xiao Kang's experience, Li Zhirui held back his laughter and said, "In that case, then you should hide in the space. Although it is important for the family to cultivate dragon beasts, he cannot force Xiao Kang to mate with those female dragon beasts. In these matters, he still respects Xiao Kang's own opinions." After dealing with Hassan's affairs, and with Xiao Kang's help and teaching, Li Zhirui was at ease to practice. Time passed, and in a blink of an eye it was the severe winter season. The sky was covered with red clouds, the north wind gradually rose, and the goose feather snow covered the sky. Snowflakes flew across the sky, covering the entire Wangxin Island in the vast snow. Such a severe winter day is rare in decades. But someone returned to the family in the heavy snow. "Shenger, are you okay?" Zhang Fengwu looked at Li Chengsheng in front of him, who was in tattered clothes, with messy hair, and some unmelted ice and snow on his body, and tears burst out all of a sudden, and he asked with a sob. "Mom. Don't worry, I'm fine. I'm doing fine." Li Chengsheng smiled brightly and announced loudly, "Mom. I have broken through the bottleneck of the nascent soul stage. All I have to do next is to practice in seclusion, and then I will be able to receive the thunder tribulation." Zhang Fengwu was stunned when he heard this good news, and his heart was extremely excited, but his eyes, which had originally stopped crying, burst into tears again. It took him a long time to calm down, and he said in a hoarse voice, "Great. My son must be a child of destiny." He then said with some regret, "It's a pity that your father is still in seclusion, otherwise I don't know how happy he would be to hear such good news from you. Dad is trying to break through to the spirit transformation realm." Li Chengsheng's face showed a rare bit of anxiety, and he asked, "Then does Mom know Dad's current situation? Shenger, is there something urgent?" Li Chengsheng nodded and told Li Zhirui the reason why he was looking for him. After Zhang Fengwu heard this, he was stunned, and then he could not hold back his ecstasy. His eyes were shining brightly, and he whispered excitedly, "In this way, Zhirui can get the fruit of the Tao of transformation before he is 50. Li Chengshu, who hurried over, was taken to the door of the meditation room before he had time to say a word to his brother. He asked in confusion, "Mom, brother, you dragged me here, are you asking Dad to come out of retreat?" "Well, there's a good thing waiting for him." After that, Zhang Fengwu did not explain, and directly struck the jade bell hanging in front of the door. Li Zhirui, who was halfway through the practice, suddenly felt something, but the bell only rang once, which was not a matter of utmost urgency, so he immediately calmed down, circulated the Jotian, and did not open his eyes until the end of the practice, and got up and walked out of the meditation room. Shenzhi, at first glance, he saw Li Chengshen, who looked like a beggar. Thinking of him using the distraction jade slip, he immediately asked, "But are you seriously injured?" "I'm not injured. I came here specially to give my father a treasure." As he said that, he handed over the jade box containing the great fantasy dream fruit with both hands. Treasure? What kind of treasure could allow Feng Wu to disturb his practice? Li Zhirui opened the jade box with doubts. When he saw the spiritual fruit quietly placed in the box, with a dreamy purple color, like clouds and mist, and no solidity, his heart skipped a beat. Great fantasy dream fruit, the characteristics are so obvious. As a fourth-level alchemist, how could he not recognize the spiritual fruit? He shouted a little out of control. Zhang Fengwu had already known about it, so he was quite calm, but Li Chengshuo only felt that it sounded familiar and did not think of the effect of this treasure at the first time. But the next moment, Li Zhirui calmed down and said, "Shenzhi, where did you get this treasure? Why don't you take it yourself, Dad? This is what I got from a secret place when I was training outside. As for why I didn't keep it, it's because I have broken through the shackles and will be able to pass the tribulation soon. I don't need this spiritual fruit." At the end, Li Chengsheng's face unconsciously showed a bit of pride. As for preserving it until he breaks through to the spirit transformation, it is too long. Even if it is sealed well, most of the effect will be lost. It seems that my son has gained a lot from this training. After a pause, Li Zhirui said, "In that case, I will accept it shamelessly, Dad. This is a son's filial piety to his father. What shamelessness is there?" Seeing Li Chengsheng like this, Li Zhirui was more surprised than when he heard that he had broken through the nascent soul and the great fantasy dream fruit. He shook his head and smiled. "It seems that you have experienced a lot this time, and even your temperament has changed a lot." Seeing Li Chengshuo on the side bowed his head and said nothing, he knew that she was disappointed when she heard that her brother had broken through the nascent soul, but she was still struggling with the golden core. "Sure, the length of time is nothing. You must not give up because of this. Instead, you should work hard and catch up with all your strength. Who knows, one day, Shenzhi will not be as good as you." Li Zhirui said the last sentence in a joking tone. "The child will follow your father's teachings," Li Chengshuo responded in a dull voice. He also knew that it was not realistic for her to digest this matter in a short period of time. As long as she could listen, she would understand it slowly. "I didn't expect that. I don't recognize you after not seeing you for so many years." In my impression, Li Chengshuo is not a self-pitying person. Li Chengsheng shook his head and made a look of pity. "Humph." Li Chengshuo suddenly became energetic and said, "You are just one step ahead of me temporarily. If I catch up with you in the future, I will see if you still have any face. I will wait and see, just wait and see." Li Zhirui listened to the conversation between the brother and sister, and a gratified smile appeared on his face. They were the closest people in the world, and they should support each other and go hand in hand on the long road. Okay, you brothers and sisters want to quarrel, find a place to quarrel. I have to hurry up to digest this spiritual fruit to prevent the medicinal effect from continuing to lose." Although Li Chengsheng tried his best to seal the spiritual fruit, the great fantasy dream fruit was still a little dim. After all, several years have passed, and the jade box and spiritual talisman he used to seal it were of such a grade. After saying that, he turned around and walked into the quiet room impatiently. "Shenzhi's breakthrough, Feng Wu, please take care of it." At this point, Li Zhirui looked at the mother and son with some guilt. Breaking through the nascent soul is such an important matter, but he, as a father, could not be there to protect him. He was really ashamed. Just go into seclusion with peace of mind. "Shenzhi is also my child, so I naturally care about him very much." Zhang Fengwu smiled softly and said, "What's more, there are Daking, Zhaoking and others on the island. Dad, don't worry. When you come out of seclusion, I will definitely have achieved the nascent soul, and I can help you then," Li Chengsheng promised hurriedly. "Humph. Even if there is no breakthrough, I can still help," Li Chengshuo on the side said unwillingly. Okay, see you when my soul turns to yang and I break through the tribulation." He glanced at the three people with nostalgia, and slowly closed the door with his heavy hands. Chapter 748 Big Dream. After Li Zhirui entered the quiet room, he exhaled a long breath, quickly calmed his mind, and facilitated his faster meditation. For this reason, he spent several hours to adjust his breath and calm down, until his mind was calm and his state reached perfection. The next moment, he took out the big fantasy dream fruit, opened his mouth and sucked it, and the spiritual fruit turned into a wisp of purple mist, which quickly sank into Li Zhirui's mouth. Unlike other spiritual objects, the dream fruit did not go straight down and return to the Danshan, but floated up like clear air, entered the sea of consciousness, and quickly spread. In the end, a layer of light purple mist floated in the huge sea of consciousness. If someone was nearby, they would find that Li Zhirui fell into deep sleep. At this moment, he was already drowning in a dream world that can be constructed by oneself. In the dream, Li Zhirui did not think much, and directly constructed a cave with the same spiritual energy as Banyan Island. He was sitting cross-legged in the spirit cave and began to try to speed up the speed of Yanghu's soul. The thrill is self-evident. If it were in the outside world, he would have died countless times and would not have gotten any answers. But it was different in the dream. After countless failures, he deduced a safe and harmless secret method that could accelerate the transformation of the soul. Of course, the use of the secret method requires two precious spiritual objects, namely the calming fruit and the soul-burning flower. The former keeps the mind calm, so that the secret method can continue to operate in the endless pain of the fire burning the soul. This method is absolutely impossible to persist without great perseverance. Another year passed, and Li Zhirui had already completed the transformation of the soul, and began to verify the breakthrough method obtained by chance, and found an effective method from it. Although even without the great illusion dream fruit, he could imagine the illusion in the sea of consciousness to deduce, but it was very troublesome. Every time he failed, he had to spend a lot of time and energy to reconstruct it, but the dream could complete what he wanted in an instant. Secondly, it was just an illusion, completely fictitious, but now it is real in the illusion, and can obtain real and effective results from the empty dream. The years in the mountains are unknown. Li Zhirui has forgotten how long he has been in the dream, and he doesn't know how many times he has failed. He only thinks that he can break through the transformation. Everyone knows that the great illusion dream fruit has the ability to construct dreams, but few people know its disadvantages. The dream seems real, and the longer you stay, the harder it is to wake up from it. And Li Zhirui is now in this danger. Finally, the last method has been perfected. In the dream, year after year passed, and the nutrients absorbed and accumulated over the years have finally reached the time to bear fruit, and it will definitely grow a remarkable spiritual fruit. If it were an ordinary cultivator, perhaps after many years in the dream, he would gradually get lost and sink, and it is very likely that he would not wake up. But Li Zhirui is different. He can wake up with the help of external forces. That is space. The great illusion dream fruit was unable to construct his personal space. This allowed Li Zhirui to distinguish between reality and dreams, and was also his reliance when he woke up from his sleep. What a great dream! It is worthy of the name of a natural treasure. When he woke up, he recalled the things he had experienced in the dream, and for a moment he was a little scared. The main reason was that he felt uncomfortable watching himself die in all kinds of strange ways. Li Zhirui rested for a day, but did not leave the quiet room. He relaxed his mind and began to practice formally. He only had the memory of the dream, and he still needed to practice on his own. One day 4 years later. Boom! It should have been a spring rainy day, but the sky over Banyan Island was covered with thunderclouds and roared, startling everyone and looking up. Which elder in the family is going through the tribulation? Is there another elder who is going to break through the golden elixir? In the past 4 years, there would be people in the family who broke through the golden elixir every year. Some succeeded, but more people failed and lost their lives. But the noise is too loud. It doesn't seem like a giant in thunder tribulation. After a tribe member calmed down, he analyzed. Yuanying thunder tribulation, the sound came from nowhere. It was not loud, but it quickly spread to the ears of the tribe members present. The person who is in seclusion in this spiritual cave should be Cheng Sheng's great uncle. Although the spiritual energy in the spiritual realm is more concentrated, it is not a good place to retreat and break through. Because he couldn't wait for the thunder tribulation, Li Cheng Sheng retreated in a spiritual cave on the mountain that was specially used for tribe members to practice. After several years, he finally broke through. Zhang Fengwu set off as soon as possible, accompanied by fourth-level spiritual beasts such as Daking and Zhaoking. The purpose of their coming was to prevent someone from doing bad things in the next thunder tribulation. The robbery cloud absorbed enough spiritual energy and stopped brewing. It struck the first thunder tribulation with a force faster than thunder. Li Chengxian, who was well prepared, faced the thunder tribulation calmly and did not panic at all, but he used various means to quickly offset the thunder tribulation. The same was true for the next few thunderbolts. Although the power of the thunderbolts became stronger as time went on, it only took some more means and he himself was not hurt. But as soon as the last thunderbolt was formed, Zhang Fengwu, who was guarding outside, was furious and terrified. This was because the last thunderbolt was extremely powerful. Even Zhang Fengwu, who had already broken through the nascent soul, had to be careful to deal with it. But at this time, Li Chengxiang was just a golden elixir. Li Chengxiang changed his previous relaxed look and his face was full of solemnity. After the thunderbolt was formed, he began to quickly perform magical spells to continuously weaken the thunderbolt. He swallowed some precious elixirs without any regret, just to quickly restore his mana. For safety reasons, he even blew up several commonly used third-level magic weapons, causing his soul to be affected. With his unremitting efforts, he met the thunderbolt that was weakened by half, but even so, Li Chengxiang's body could not bear it. Poof! Li Chengxiang spat out a large mouthful of blood, and cracks of various sizes appeared on his body. He collapsed to the ground, his breath weak, like a candle in the wind, a lonely lamp in the rain, and he would die in the next moment. Zhang Fengwu, who was far away, was worried and tears filled her eyes. She wanted to rush over to check on Li Chengxiang. Fortunately, Li Chengxiu, who was standing by, was relatively calm. He hurriedly pulled her and said, "Mom, the thunder tribulation has not dissipated yet. If you get so close to my brother, he will really have no way to survive." Zhang Fengwu woke up as if from a dream. She hurriedly stopped, and anxiety lingered in her heart. She said, "How could this happen? Why did Shenzher's last thunder tribulation have such a terrifying power? If it was because of karma, why were the previous thunder tribulations no different?" Li Chengxiu was also very scared, but at the critical moment, she forced herself to calm down and said, "Mom, the thunder tribulation has not dissipated yet, which means that my brother is still fighting against a thunder tribulation. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 749, Reality and Fakeness. Zhang Fengwu calmed down, but he was still very anxious. He clasped his hands together devoutly and prayed for Li Chengxian, hoping that he could survive this disaster. The tribesmen who were watching were also worried that the family would lose a young talent. They were even more sad and shocked by the power of the thunder tribulation. At this time, Li Chengxian, who fell to the ground with his eyes closed as if he had fainted, was fighting a fierce and painful battle with the thunder in his body. Using his body as a battlefield and doing his best to eliminate the thunder, the whole process was extremely painful. Several times he almost chose to give up and die. But thinking of his parents and relatives who were worried about him, and his desire to see the vast world in his heart, made Li Chengxiang persist. He almost drained all his magic power to eliminate the last ray of thunder and survive this disaster with a seriously injured body. But the next moment, a black light fell from the sky and sank into the sea of consciousness between his eyebrows. Li Chengxian, who originally had a strong heart for Taoism, accidentally fell into the illusion of the inner demon because the thunder tribulation consumed too much of his mind. If he had not noticed it in time and broke free from it, even if he survived the thunder tribulation, he would have failed at the hands of the inner demon, and his hundreds of years of cultivation would have been used to make wedding clothes for the inner demon. When the illusion was broken, the rolling black clouds also changed, becoming a bunch of spiritual clouds formed by pure spiritual energy, overlapping and wrapping up Li Chengxian. Buzz, he was like a gluttonous beast, madly swallowing and exhaling huge and pure spiritual energy, and his realm also changed accordingly. His aura became stronger, and the golden elixir in his body was like an embryo, giving birth to a red child. Zhang Fengwu, who saw this scene, could not help but soften his body and sobbed softly. Fortunately, Shenzher survived the tribulation safely, otherwise how could I explain to your father, Mom, this matter has nothing to do with you, and didn't my eldest brother survive the tribulation successfully? Li Chengxiu hurriedly spoke to comfort him. The clan members who were watching around also breathed a sigh of relief, and their tense and worried faces turned into joy and happiness. The family had given birth to another nascent soul cultivator, and their strength would be further improved, and they would also benefit from it. When the news spread, the surrounding forces were full of jealousy and envy. They also hoped that their family could give birth to a nascent soul cultivator. Unfortunately, there was no hope. But some forces were extremely vigilant about the development of the Li family. For example, the head of Xuanbing sect, who had always wanted to recapture Taixuzhao and then suppress the Li family, said, "Alice, another nascent soul cultivator. It seems that in the past 100 years, there will be frequent news of Li family's breakthrough to the nascent soul stage, although the Li family has kept the cultivation method Wanling Sutra hidden in every possible way. Even if they don't know the specific method over the years, they know some special features. Li Chengsheng has broken through the nascent soul stage, so as long as a spirit beast has no bloodline obstacles, it can pass the tribulation and break through. Compared with cultivators, the probability of the demon race passing the tribulation successfully is greater, because their bodies are stronger and their mana is more abundant. It's just that there are too many coveted existences in the wild. After all, the 4th level demon beasts are full of treasures, and they will take advantage of them after the breakthrough and fall into weakness to attack, so it seems that the demon beasts will have such a hard time passing the tribulation. But there are no such problems on Banyan Island, and there will be a large supply of elixirs to replenish mana, which increases the probability of a successful breakthrough. It's a pity that those elders are short-sighted and value their own interests more than the interests of the sect. If they don't change, they will be surpassed by the Li family one day. Thinking of this, the head of the sect couldn't help but sighed, full of helplessness. Sure, do you think we can't hold the nascent soul ceremony? Zhang Fengwu has been thinking about this issue since Li Chengsheng successfully broke through. According to the family's rules, not only should it be held, but it should also be held in a grand manner. But she took into account that Li Zhirui was still in seclusion to break through to the god of transformation at this time. If the outside world discovered this news, it would be a huge disaster for him and the Li family. Mother, instead of hiding it and making people suspicious, it's better to show it openly and tell them that my father is in seclusion to break through to the late nascent soul. Li Chengshuo had a different opinion. What a big deal is the nascent soul? For a top-level force like the Wangxiang sect, if a disciple achieves the nascent soul, they will hold a grand celebration. The Li family suppressed it and did not hold it, which would inevitably arouse suspicion from the outside world and make them more vigilant. It is better to do the opposite. Anyway, at Li Zhirui's age, he can be called a child of destiny for breaking through the late nascent soul stage. It is beyond everyone's expectations. Who would think that he is actually trying to break through to the spiritualization stage? You are right. I thought too simply. After listening to it, Zhang Fengwu immediately agreed and said, just do as you say. I will trouble you to tell the tribesmen and perfect this method to avoid mistakes. Mother is also worried and confused. She was panicked for a while. After saying that, Li Chengshu about and left. Then I will go to be busy. Mother, take good care of big brother. Although Li Chengsheng broke through the nascent soul stage, the injuries left by the tribulation could not be healed immediately. It would take a lot of time to heal. Zhang Fengwu was worried, so she stayed outside the quiet room where he was in seclusion. If anything happened, she could react immediately. In the family hall, after hearing Li Chengshuo's intention, Li Wenli nodded repeatedly and said, you are right. We can use this grand ceremony to dispel the suspicion of some forces. How could he, as the patriarch, know nothing about the various forces trying to find out the intelligence of the Li family? It's just that Banyan Island is closed and semi-isolated from the inside and outside, so they can't get any information. On the contrary, if they make any moves, the spies sent by the other party will be more covert, so they just pretend not to know, and under secret surveillance, they can also learn some relevant skills from the other party. I just don't know what the current situation of Ancestor Sheng is. When should we start preparing for the grand ceremony? It's impossible that they have prepared everything. But Li Chengsheng is still in seclusion. Those spiritual objects that took so much effort and money to prepare, wouldn't it be wasted in vain? Li Chengshuo pondered for a moment after hearing this, and said, Big brother's injury is serious. I'm afraid he needs to rest for 3 to 5 years. You can spread the news first, let them know the reason, and then invite all parties to participate. I see. Please ask the clan leaders and elders to find a way to cover up the fact that my father is in seclusion to break through to the god transformation, and don't let the clan members leak the news, Li Chengshuo reminded again with some worry. After all, when Li Zhirui broke through, Most of the clan members on the island came to watch, knowing that he was already in the late nascent soul stage. If the news leaked out, it would inevitably arouse the vigilance of the Xuanbing sect, and then there would probably be many more twists and turns and troubles. Please rest assured, Ancestor, we will handle this matter properly. Chapter 750 Ceremony. The Li family announced that it would be several years before the Yuanying ceremony was held. All parties knew that this breakthrough would be extremely difficult. It was probably a dangerous journey to successfully enter the Yuanying state. But this did not make those who envied him gloat over his misfortune. After all, no matter what, Li Chengsheng was already a Yuanying master, and at a young age, he might not have a greater fortune in the future. Putting aside the consolidation of his realm and recuperation, Li's heir was moving forward steadily, transforming his last soul into yang in a safe and smooth manner. At the current rate, he would be able to completely transform into yang within 5 years. During this period, he only needed to practice meditation. Time passed quickly. Li Chengsheng, who was seriously injured that day, had recovered after several years of recuperation. He met Zhang Fengwu as soon as he came out of seclusion. I'm sorry for worrying you, I'm glad you're okay. Thinking of the situation that day, she couldn't help but burst into tears. With the comfort of Li Chengsheng and Li Chengshu, she regained her composure. Brother, when you broke through that day, why was the power of the last thunderbolt so strong and terrifying? I don't understand this either. Li Chengsheng was also full of doubts. He didn't dare to say that he didn't have any karma, that was impossible, but it wouldn't make the thunderbolt worse. Moreover, if it was really because of karma, it should be like when Zhang Fengwu passed the tribulation. The power of the thunderbolt from beginning to end was far beyond the usual. How could it be so abrupt? Could it be some kind of accident? Li Chengshu frowned and murmured. Hearing this, Li Chengsheng seemed to suddenly remember something and smiled. It is because of the last thunderbolt that my body is now stronger than that of a giant body cultivator, although the spiritual energy will temper the body by the way during cultivation. If it is not deliberately polished, even if it breaks through the nascent soul, the strength of the body will not be comparable to that of a giant body cultivator. What happened that day scared me to death. What is this benefit? Zhang Fengwu glared at him. He is not a physical cultivator and cannot fight with his physical body. Now that he has broken through to the nascent soul stage, the sharpness of the 4th level magic weapon cannot be blocked by his physical body's strength. It is really useless. Mom, we have to tell the family about my eldest brother's coming out of seclusion, so that they can prepare for the ceremony as soon as possible. After saying that, Li Chengshu strode away as if he was escaping. She anticipated Zhang Fengwu's chattering and left first, but Li Chengsheng was not so lucky. He spoke first and interrupted the conversation, saying, Mom, Dad is in seclusion now. Isn't it a bit inappropriate to hold a grand ceremony at this time? Don't worry, the family has prepared a foolproof plan. It will not expose Zhirui's true situation. On the contrary, it can take the opportunity to mislead them and let them down. In order not to give Zhang Fengwu a chance to teach him a lesson, Li Chengsheng asked, I don't know when Dad will come out of seclusion. The family has no experience in breaking through the spirit transformation now. With your father's cautious personality, he must solve most of the hidden dangers before he really takes action. Mom knows Dad. The Li family has held many grand ceremonies, so some decorations and unimportant arrangements were completed in just a few days. The rest are some rare high-level spiritual objects, which have to be purchased from Xuanfa Pavilion and Nanya Chamber of Commerce. The Li family can't afford so many. If low-level spiritual objects are used to fill the number, wouldn't it be an insult to the Li family? The family was busy for half a year, and finally prepared the spiritual objects needed for the ceremony. You can distribute the invitations now, Li Wenli ordered. Include all the surrounding forces in the invitation list. When you arrive at the gate of each family, don't say much, and don't hang around. Leave after completing the delivery task. Soon, the forces receive the invitation from the Li family, inviting them to participate in the Yuanying ceremony 1 month later. When the day of the ceremony came, Banyan Island, where almost no foreign cultivators were seen, now has a wide road specially arranged. Walking on the road, you can see the scenery of the island and avoid them walking around and accidentally entering an important area. Your family lives here without those troubles. It's really enviable. The Yuanying sent by Xuanbing sect is named Banyan. Walking on the road, he couldn't help but sigh. Senior, you are too kind. Li Wenli, who came to greet him in person, replied respectfully and politely. Banyan didn't speak again, and sat silently on the arranged cloud bed with the disciples behind him. The original nascent soul ceremony was to preach one's own cultivation experience, guide the younger generation, and promote the progress of the immortal way. However, today, each family cherishes its own treasures, and such ceremonies have gradually become a way to show off one's own strength, and no important methods or moral principles are discussed at all. But I have to come, after all, the Li family's invitation has been delivered to the door. If I don't go, it is really a lack of faith. Especially those vassal forces, dare they not participate? Ding ding ding. As soon as the auspicious time arrived, the Banyan Island rang with bursts of bells, and the cultivators who were originally whispering shut up and quieted down at the first time. Next, Li Chengsheng made a brilliant appearance. After saying some polite words, it was time to drink and appreciate various pleasing performances. After 3 rounds of wine, it was time for him to preach. Obviously, he didn't intend to say anything good, so he arranged it this way. If he really wanted to preach, how could he make people eat and drink enough first? So when Li Chengsheng opened his mouth, the light in the eyes of the cultivators who had originally held out hope suddenly went out. After only a quarter of an hour, he shut up and finished his sermon. Banyan praised loudly, and all kinds of words of praise flowed out of his mouth. Finally, he asked in confusion, Dai Ali, why is Li Zhirui not here for such a big event? Father is in seclusion to break through the late nascent soul stage. How can he delay his path because of my little thing? A stone stirs up 1,000 waves. As soon as these words came out, there was a burst of exclamations at the scene. This news is indeed a bit shocking. After all, how old is Li Zhirui? He is not even 500 years old yet. And he has not even reached half of the nascent soul period, but he will soon be in the late nascent soul stage. Li Zhirui's talent is really amazing. It makes people very envious. Banyan seemed to be praising sincerely, but he couldn't help but feel envious and jealous in his heart. He is more than 100 years older than Li Zhirui, but he broke through to the late nascent soul stage a few years ago. Now he is about to be caught up by a younger generation. Perhaps soon, he will be thrown away. With this thought, Banyan could no longer suppress the jealousy in his heart, and cursed Li Zhirui darkly that he would fail to break through. After the ceremony was over and the families left Banyan Island, Li Chengsheng, Li Wenli and others gathered together to discuss the subsequent impact of this ceremony. I don't know if the Zhuanbing sect has been deceived. This is what Li Chengsheng is most concerned about. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.